Boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday evening. You know what I love about this show, boys? I love that this show is so diverse, that we have listeners that are so technologically advanced and talented to make an original sound, to create music, have an original soundtrack based off our show, whilst also having members of our audience commenting in the YouTube section that they can't find the show on YouTube. Boys, we span the globe with regards to our audience base. Glad to have you guys in tonight. If you are new to the program, welcome in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and damn sure make sure you're subscribing. It's a loaded show, and as you can see based off the title right here, I've got top 10 college football quarterbacks right now, and I'm not even gonna make you wait for it, boys. We're starting the show with a top 10 list right now, and we got a hefty OLI. We got a hefty OLI on this list, and I gotta be honest. Yeah, as expected. I gotta be honest. I did not expect this to be this hard. I thought I was gonna get through 10. Lickety split. I thought I was going to get through all 10 really quickly. I didn't. I stopped at 8 and had a real tough time identifying 9 and 10 on this list. So here we go. OLIs. Let's start with my man Brady Cook. I think it's going to get better. Hasn't looked great. I think it's going to get better. Dylan Raiola looked really solid as a freshman. By the way, you guys know how my quarterback rankings go. This is a combination of gut. This is a combination of film. This is a combination of where I would draft you to start my team. This is a combination last and most least. All right. Stats. How well are you producing? I'm going to watch the tape first, feel how my gut feels. This is how my gut feels. Brady Cook, Dylan Raiola, Taylor Green, sneaky OLI here, and my man Thomas Castellanos from Ware County on the OLI here as well up there at Boston College. Really explosive. A very tough assignment as a defensive coordinator to try to prepare for. Are we ready for the top 10?
Let's hear it.
All right, number 10. Malik Murphy.
Yeah,
sneaky. Buddy. Malik Murphy is a really fun watch right now. Doesn't have a ton of help at Duke, as you would imagine. All right. It's not Texas's weapons. It's not Texas's offense. But this man's putting it up 48 times a game, and he's managed to do it relatively turnover free. He's got a couple, but not like putting it at risk a ton of time. And by the way, 6'5", 245 pounds, got a chooch on him, and looks the part. And it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. What I've been been impressed by is the mental acumen already. He hasn't played a lot of football. This was a guy coming into college football after the COVID season, real inexperienced in terms of even high school football. I think Malik only had like 7 or 8 games on tape available entering college there at Texas. Obviously doesn't get on the field. I am loving what he's doing right now. Balling with traits is what I'm calling that. Number 9, John Mateer. Your boy Mateer. Gary Mateer makes the list right here. My boy John Mateer. And this is the only stat you're going to get all night on the top 10s list. You ready for this? Wazoo right now, 3-0. Sneaky 3-0. Wazoo averaging 478 total yards of offense right now. 478 total yards of offense. Do you know how much my boy John Mateer's contributing to that? 341 of those 478.
Lord.
All the Mateer bus. It is all John Mateer right now for them fighting Wazoo's, sticking up for the Pac-2. All right, on to number 8. Dylan Gabriel catching on, catching back on. It's coming back. If he could just hit a wide open receiver once in a while, he'd probably be way, way further up on this list. I'm going to go number 7 right here. Give me Shedeur Sanders. If only we could see him behind a decent offensive line.
Yeah.
If only we could see him behind a decent offensive line. Now, here's the thing. It's kind of a catch-22 because he might have one of the best weaponries in all of college football in terms of a wide receiver unit. But there's a lot of questions on that offensive line with regards to protections. And I'm also, if I'm drafting him as an NFL evaluator, and I know we're going outside of the top 10 list, but if I'm drafting him, I've got a question like, hey, how much are you involved with this protection issues as well? How much of this is you holding on to the football? How much of this is you dependent? And how much of this is, okay, the guys in front of you are just really, really bad? A lot of pass protection nowadays is responsible in the quarterback's hands with a lot of these offenses. So, where are we at? We're at number 6 now. Number 6, Jalen Milroe. Most explosive quarterback and most explosive player probably in college football at this point right now. You guys know my feelings about not only this quarterback, but this offense as a whole, the ability to score on you quickly and really, really rapidly. The thing that I've really appreciated so far through this season, this dude, in terms of Kalen DeBoer and this offensive coordinating staff, They've just given up. Not given up, but they've stopped trying to make this guy a pocket passer. They've stopped trying to make this guy process a bunch of reads. They've done exactly what we've asked them to do on this network, which is say, hey, Jalen, I'm really good as a coordinator. If number 1 option's not open, check number 2. If number 2's not open, he probably gonna be. If number 2's not open, then you're the number 3 option. Take off, pull the ball down, and run. Don't sit there in the pocket too long. I think they've done a really, really good job of designing and using his legs in these football games. And by the way, it's only going to get more and more as the season grows and as the competition gets tougher. I'm expecting 15 design runs next week in that Georgia football game. I think they have to use his legs because, again, he is extremely explosive. Felt a little lower on my list than I thought, especially if you're a stats guy. Jackson Dart comes in at number 4 for me, or number 5 for me right here. He is eating right now. 83% completion percentage, but they've played nobody. Yeah, absolutely nobody. And you guys know my thing. 6'3.5", 225. Not the best and most polished passer, in my opinion. No. And if we were to draft him tomorrow and I say, hey, we're going to start our team with a quarterback, Jackson's going to fall somewhere in this 5, 6, 7 range for me because I don't know if we're fully, adaptable in terms of scheme. Can we do everything, or are we scheme dependent on what Lane's kind of putting in front of us right now?
Yeah, well, and I think one of the things is that he is a great college quarterback. I don't think anyone's really banking on Jackson Dart being a success story in the NFL. So, I mean, ranking him in the top 5 of college quarterbacks is absolutely fine.
All right, preseason number 1 after 3 weeks. Number 4, Carson Beck. He's had a tough week last week. I think it was 15 of 26, $150. Statistically, probably his worst performance as a starting quarterback. And honestly, I thought there was some hesitancy with regards to pulling the trigger. Offensive line's been a little bit suspect, especially last week, with regards to pass protection and getting a clean pocket for a guy who, let's be honest, needs a clean pocket. Though, I will say, Carson's legs and athleticism have taken a step this year, and they've needed to do so. I got him at number 4. Number 3, Nico Iamaleava. Have we...
Ian Meleava.
At number 3. Combo of talent and performance right here. Number 2, I know he's hurt. Give me Quinn Ewers. Boy, before he was playing ball, guys, or before he got hurt, guys, I thought he was playing some really, really confident football, which leads me into my number 1 guy. There's not a freaking soul on the planet playing more confidently and more algorithmically based than Cam Ward. Cam Ward, number 1 right now in college football. By the way, Cam Ward, sneaky big. I didn't realize he was a full 6'2 and a half, a full 220. Sneaky good start to the season. Not even sneaky. It's out there and out loud. I got Cam Ward, number 1. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Pick at me right here.
It's going to be interesting to... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Fine.
It's going to be interesting to see how much this list changes, in my opinion, because there's a lot of guys on there that I think it's... Do we know they're good, or is it kind of they've had the advantage of playing really good football against some pretty mediocre teams?
Last year we did this all SEC based, and you talking about picking teeth right now, pulling teeth right now. Going like 9 through 16 would be really, really hard.
Yeah.
Hell, I think going 6 through 16 might be really, really hard in the SEC right now. Kind of a sneaky down year for quarterback play in the conference. Are we comfortable saying that?
Yeah, but I feel like we kind of felt that way heading into this season.
Yeah.
Because the overall, like going into this next draft class, it felt very top heavy. There's really 3 names everybody knew was going to be in this discussion of Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, and Shedeur Sanders. It's expanded a little bit. Cam Ward certainly starting to enter his name into that conversation. So it's definitely expanded a little bit, but at the same time, it still feels that it's a small group of guys that tend to be in this very elite category. I do think it is interesting that Shedeur's number 7. I would have him higher, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I just think that he is one of the more talented players, and but he's also tough to judge because the offensive line is what it is, and the overall cast around him. I mean, having Travis Hunter, and they also got Will Shepherd, I believe is his name, from Vanderbilt. He has some good weapons that he can utilize. But yeah, I think he's just kind of tough to judge. But I would say he's definitely in that.
Like him in that like 5-6 range.
Yeah,
instead
somewhere
of that
just
7
a little higher.
range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got him over maybe like a Jalen Milroe, or maybe even like a Carson or a Jackson Dart right now. Where are you putting him in this list?
I would put him over Jalen Milroe. I think he brings more to the game than Jalen Milroe does, but it's hard because Jalen Milroe has played really well this season for Kalen DeBoer.
And the legs, of course.
There's also
kind of passer for sure, considerably more as a polished passer.
There's also kind of a leadership question when it comes to Shedeur. Like, we've all seen the post-game comments after the Nebraska game and some of the other comments he's had. It's kind of interesting. If you were to pick out one quarterback on this list where it's like, who do you think might have the most leadership issues? I think we'd all point to Shedeur. So
how much of that is, again, guilty by association?
I don't know. Saying it's a rookie mistake on your wide receiver when you throw a pick six is pretty bad.
And then blaming the offensive line. Those things, they got to get cleaned up. You can't say that stuff.
But then he brought the entire offensive line with him to his next press conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bounce back. Shake back.
Like I said, questions. Not bad leader.
Not concerns, questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair at this point. I'm thinking of this rest of this list. We don't have any of those comments from quarterbacks about throwing guys under the bus or any questions about things that are going on. Or things that are being said on social media. There's no noise around the rest of the guys. They're kind of just playing ball. That's fair to say. That's a fair criticism.
I think Cam Ward is a fun watch because he plays the position so nonchalant. Like, he's just kind of going through the motions, almost like he's going through a walkthrough. I thought the clips that came out of him against Florida, where he's just kind of jogging down the field, just kind of
telling you there's not
creeps out of bounds.
There's not a dude on this planet playing more confident than Cam Ward.
It's almost like everything's in slow motion for him.
And I think you're going to have to rattle him, get him off, just like any other quarterback at this point. This was a really elite analysis right here. Hey, run him off his spot. Make him uncomfortable. Yeah. That one's universal for everybody. All right, welcome in. We got a great show for you guys. It is indeed Wednesday. You know what that means. What if Wednesday? UCLA's doing what now? UCLA's doing what?
Giving away free wings, apparently. Not UCLA, but the Buffalo Wild Wings in LA.
Not Magic City?
No, unfortunately. Is there even a Magic City in LA?
They ought to be. New Florida head coach betting line just dropped. That's crazy. We ain't even fired the guy yet, but we got odds on who the next one's going to be. I thought it was pretty thought-provoking. I did an Arch Manning film study. Going to bring you the tape thoughts and notes on that. Should we take another look at Bama quarterbacks? I think we're going to tonight. Big 12 might make itself a little bit clearer up over the next 2 weeks. Going to take a look at that tonight as well. Hey, boys and girls, we're 3-0 right now. I don't know if you know this, but prop plays are kind of hard to do, and I'm 3-0 with our friends over at Better. Better is now offering college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in 23 states, including the fine state of Georgia. Better is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks today. It's a great time to be over on Better. Like I said, 3-0. And Kirby, you've been in this game for a little while.
Yeah.
All right. I hope mom's not listening. You are our gambling addict on this show.
Well,
props are hard to hit. Being 3-0 on Better, it's a reason to be over there using promo code Brooks.
that is a very good thing to be 3-0 on. I'm impressed.
Absolutely. Let's hammer it down over there on Better. Again, promo code Brooks, 100%, or what was the deposit match? You got a good bonus over there, $250 over there with promo code Brooks. We appreciate you guys over there. Let's get into this. New Florida head coaching line. This is odd. I saw this on BetOnline.
Yeah.
BetOnline.ag dropped a line on who the next head coach at Florida is going to be.
Yeah, there's some interest, and there's the names that everybody's throwing out there. Like the list starts off with Lane Kiffin. He has the highest odds right now. It's like, okay. And then Jamie Chadwell, he's been getting some love too. So he's been a name kind of thrown in this mix. Eli Drinkowitz. Deion Sanders, though, he's number 3.
A little weird.
That's where it kind of starts to get weird. Brent Key, 800 odds.
It's not.
Why's the OC not there before Brent Key?
Right?
Yeah,
that was my
100%.
question. Georgia fans are going to love this one. Brian Schottenheimer. Where did that come from?
That's a blast from the past.
Marty's son?
Sure.
It's got to be.
He was Georgia's OC in 2015.
They ain't out here rolling Schottenheimers off the assembly line. It's got to be his son.
Yeah.
Where's he even at? I had to Google him.
He's in the NFL somewhere, I believe.
Okay.
Not exactly sure where, but yeah, Brian Schottenheimer was very interesting.
Shotty's agent definitely called BetOnline and was like, hey, can you get his name on this list, please?
Trying to go back to college football, just slide it in there. Josh Heupel on this list, Matt Rule on this list, Brent Venables on this list, Mark Stoops, Shane Beamer.
Yeah, I thought we were starting to lose our wits and any legitimacy here when we were going to the territory of Venables, Heupel, and Beamer for a variety of different reasons of no.
Yeah. So obviously, as you go further down, like there's just some absurd options. Like Dan Quinn is somewhere mixed in on.
Brian Schottenheimer is currently the OC with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes,
and he is relatively SEC head football coach handsome.
Well, his last go in the SEC.
Visor with the spike tips.
Oh yeah. Know him well.
Got a good scruff going on too.
But to me, it seems like the only legitimate options I have on this list that I could foresee happening are Lane Kiffin, Jamie Chadwell, Eli Drinkowitz.
Is Ed O on that list?
No. I thought the most interesting talking point, and I LOL'd at this idea, right? Because it is realistic at the end of the year, Florida is hunting down Jamie Chadwell and Lane Kiffin. And I just find it hysterical that after watching a Florida Gators program hire the coach from Mississippi and then turn around and hire the mid-major coach, both of which failed for a variety of different reasons, and then to turn around and the ultimate savior of potentially Scott Strickland's job as the athletic director, or maybe his final hire, even though I don't know if he's going to be able to make this one, the options you're staring down right now are the head coach from the school in Mississippi, and do we hire the best mid-major coach? That's where we're at all over again. I thought that was kind of ironic.
It's an unfortunate cycle there. And to be fair, the head coach from Mississippi that you hired originally did not like recruiting, did not care to do it, did not really have any interest in doing it. He was a big schemer guy. Which
can I push back on this? And I like making fun of Dan Mullen. It's like one of my favorite pastimes. I mean, wearing khakis that are unhemmed with a pair of Jordans make me throw up. Don't get me wrong. I love making fun of dudes who start fights at midfield and then go wear a Darth Vader mask when they know they're inevitably going to be fired. However, the whole narrative of Dan Mullen didn't want to recruit. Dan Mullen quit recruiting. Dan Mullen's athletic director correlation turned him in for violations of recruiting that are very, very minuscule. And at that point, I would have thrown my hands up too. I would have just been like, oh, y'all aren't going to let me do what I need to do? Well, okay, I just won't do it. And I'll take your buyout and I'll leave. And that's fine.
Yeah.
He's not a perfect coach. There was a lot going wrong. All right. But the whole he quit on recruiting thing was pretty much done to him, in my opinion.
It is tough when your own people are out there snitching on you. The
For
people
sure.
that invested in you and they told you, like, we think you're the best fit for here. When those are the people that are turning you in and hindering you from doing your job.
They had a bus of college or high school kids on a 7-on-7 tour show up to campus unannounced. What was Dan supposed to do? They're supposed to say, "Nah, y'all got to get up out of here." NCAA rule? No. Ain't an SEC coach in America saying that, first of all. All right. Second of all, you turned him in for it. I'd have quit too. So sorry. Didn't mean to sidetrack with a Dan Mullen defense. I know that's scary. Out of nowhere.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I think if anything, this list tells me that people just think it's going to be Lane Kiffin because that's the hot name on the market that people are plugging into this one. But nobody really has an idea of what's going to happen. Nobody has any idea of who this program is going to hire.
Jamie Chadwell, sneaky good hire. Good at Coastal, good at Liberty. Might be good at in the SEC.
Maybe.
I mean, you're at the point now where if you're Florida, you need a damn guarantee.
Yeah, honestly, not and I feel like we might say this every year because we don't know who the next great coach is, right? We don't know for a fact who it might be. We can't certainly identify it, but not a tremendous group of names here. No. You know, It's like all in on Lane, and that's it.
Yeah, like the only name on this list that outside of like some other ones that it felt like they just kind of slapped on there, like Glenn Schumann plus 1,200. They have him on this list. That's one of the only ones on this list where it's like, ooh, that's intriguing.
Don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
I think this is a great time to transition with finishing on the point of Lane. Lane seems to be the one that they're going to throw the book at, or throw the checkbook at, I should say. I think the internet's been talking about a good little talking point here lately, which is which program is better? Which program is better? Would you rather be the head football coach at Florida next year, or would you rather be the head coach at Ole Miss next year? Because I think it's not even close.
Oh,
next year,
I think it's not even close.
Next year, if you're in the immediate future, I don't think I would rather be at Ole Miss because that program's a little better established. Now you're going to have to rebuild both rosters either way. The longevity of the Florida program, I would suggest, is probably a little better because of your proximity to talent and the ability that you'll probably have more funds available.
All right, so the next time I say something's not even close, I'm going to jump on it and just run with it because he's stealing a lot of points here.
Sorry.
It isn't close. It isn't close. This whole idea of, Florida's going to have their whole entire roster decimated. Oh, they're a bad team. Buddy, Ole Miss flips their roster over at a 50% rate every single year. He can't get high school kids to come out to Oxford. He had the 1 5-star linebacker commit to him because the dude's from Mississippi. There ain't a lot out there for him to recruit and build his program from a longevity standpoint on the high school recruiting trail. His 5-hour radius is not anywhere near what his 3-hour radius is in Gainesville. So he's able to build a long-standing program at Florida at a much higher rate and a much more successful rate than he would be at Ole Miss. That Ole Miss roster gets turned over at a tremendous rate every year. I think they've got 20-plus seniors on their 2 deep right about now. Both of these rosters are going to be completely decimated next year, and one of them's got DJ Lagway if you're the head football coach, in my opinion, and that's Florida. I don't think it's close.
The only pushback I would give to that is if I'm a head coach candidate in the mix for this, and I kind of if I'm Lane Kiffin in this scenario, I would first off the start to your career at Florida versus the start to your career at Ole Miss. It's a lot easier next year at Ole Miss because of the schedule. Because you're going to get a repeat of what you got this year from Florida, whereas Ole Miss, we just were talking about it not too long ago, is Ole Miss isn't playing anybody. Sure, you got to go find a new game. I think that Wake Forest game was next year. But I think that plays a role in this. And then also what you have seen Florida do to head coaches and the lack of time that they have given head coaches to really get that thing going would scare me as a candidate. Whereas I look at Ole Miss, they gave Matt Luke a considerably long amount of time. Lane Kiffin got a lot of time as well at Ole Miss to help build up that program. So you have a longer leash at Ole Miss as opposed to what you have at Florida. Now, that could very well change if a new AD is hired as well, because then you have a new regime in there and everything. But that would be the only thing that would scare me from taking that Florida job.
Regime?
I didn't really know how to pronounce
Regime.
Regime.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that Dan.
Me making fun of you for pronunciation. That's hilarious. As I mispronounce pronunciation.
I'll say people forget that Dan Mullen got fired the year after he won the East, almost beat Bama in the SEC championship. They fired Jim McElwain the year after he won the East too. So like, there is a very quick turnaround, and it's one bad year, and you're pretty much out. It seems like if you're a Florida coach. So. Yeah, the pressure, I think, would probably lean towards me picking Ole Miss as the job, just because it ultimately depends on what are your goals as a head coach. Do you want to find a nice SEC job that you can go to and you can be at for 10 years and have success with? I would say Ole Miss is probably your better job. If you want to be a national title winning head coach, be consistently on the top 5 coaches ranking, be always up there competing in the playoff and national titles, I would say Florida in the long run is probably the better choice.
Yeah, I would still pick Florida over Ole Miss.
These contracts nowadays are 8 years, guys. So you're thinking long run. You're thinking long term.
Yeah, but they'll still buy your ass out if you're not performing.
Well, yeah, that's the case everywhere. But
But Florida has shown they have much more of a propensity to do that than an Ole Miss does.
If you're a dumpster fire, I don't think Lane's ever going to be a dumpster fire.
I don't think so.
Some of the chat has asked the question of, "Hey man, has this guy ever recruited well during his 8 months in Knoxville?" I don't know. During his time at FAU, I'm going to throw that in the dumpster, During his time as the head coach at Ole Miss, no, he hasn't. We just addressed that. I think he did a decent job during his, he spent like 20 months as the USC head coach? How long was he out there at 30 years old?
Not super long.
Not super long.
That was 2 decades ago. That kind of turned into a dumpster fire.
Kinda. He got fired on the tarmac.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the Lane Kiffin dumpster fire.
Yeah. So, but that's a Lane Kiffin a decade ago. That's a whole different version of a human, in my opinion, than what we're looking at.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Chat saying Jed Fish, Florida alum. Interesting. Just took a loss to Wazoo at home, though.
Yeah. Apple Cup, not great.
Yeah.
Also, do you want to start fresh 2 years in a row at a new school?
I mean, I don't think these guys give a damn. I don't think these guys give a damn about that. The wives might care. Wives and kids definitely care. These guys don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're hired guns everywhere they go, especially when they're paid $7 million to do so.
He wasn't horrible recruiting at FAU.
What is not horrible recruiting at FAU?
I mean, he had the 62nd overall class in 2019.
It was like top in the AAC?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay.
I mean, again, that's the thing is, I don't know the standard for an FAU recruiting class, but
it's true.
Jed Fish, great football coach, though, based off what he did at Arizona. I love the offense as well. So that would be fun. I think that might be a guy that could talk DJ Lagway into sticking around. I think Jed Fish got a lot of NFL experience as well. Isn't that where he's from? NFL guy, came back to Arizona.
I believe so.
I think I might be mistaken there, but may or may not be. All right, where do we want to go next? Do we want to talk about the Arch tape? Do we want to talk about whether or not we're taking a look at Saban quarterbacks again? We want to talk about this Big 12 picture. Should we What If Wednesday?
It's What If Wednesday, dude.
You want to What If Wednesday?
Middle of the Wednesday show.
I love it. Middle of the Wednesday show. Let's do it. What if Michigan makes USC look like USC defense of old? Just runs through a bunch of arm tackles for 4 quarters. Orgy. Big guy.
Yeah.
It's a big orgy.
They still lose.
That's 2 nights in a row making that kind of joke.
That's hacky, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's on me.
I think they still would lose.
Yeah, it raises concerns. I think if you have UCLA or USC lose that game, it becomes the same old Lincoln Riley thing. So he can't field a defense. He's always going to do this. We don't believe him anymore. If they win that game, though, I think that people will slowly start to change their opinions on Lincoln Riley. I mean, we've kind of already started doing that with the way their defense played against LSU. Now, granted, LSU's not as great as we thought they were, judging by their 3 games this season, but there's been somewhat of a turnaround. So
I would just think that even if you are running through arm tackles and USC's defense is kind of giving up points, it would be hard for me to say that even that would lead to an explosive performance from Michigan's offense.
Yeah,
which it's probably because I haven't seen them do it this year. But I mean, that also could be countered with Michigan's defense is certainly good enough to maybe keep Miller Moss and that offense from scoring a bunch of points as well. I think they still have some really good defensive players. I mean, I still think it's a decent defense.
Our boy Marion Campbell brings up a great point about our previous segment. The buyout for Billy right about now is about $26 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think the net worth of Biff Poggi's right around that area.
Oh,
What if he just walked in and said, "Hey, give me $10 million, I'll buy you out of that guy"?
give it to me. It's mine.
Not a bad idea from Marion Campbell in the chat.
Florida Gators.
Could
head
you
coach
imagine how
Biff
pitted out
Poggi.
that shirt would be in the
Oh,
swamp?
Lord. The stench.
Oh, the Poggi stench.
That'd be
All right, where were
brutal.
we at?
What if Oklahoma pulls off the upset? Does that change your view more on Tennessee or Oklahoma?
It would change my view on Oklahoma a little bit more. I thought they were 8-4 football program going into the season. And they've played like that to start the year.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't gotten into that SEC slate yet. They've played like an 8-4 team so far. So I would be far more surprised with Oklahoma than I would be Tennessee. Tennessee, I would say, okay, first true road start for this cat. Maybe that happened. Oh, big body defense. Maybe they got stifled in the run game. Heupel got to figure some things out. That's what my thought process would be if Oklahoma pulls off the upset.
Yeah, I think it would maybe change my opinion on Tennessee more, honestly, because we've kind of started treating Tennessee as this offensive juggernaut that can't be stopped. I mean, they're putting up 50 points every game. Nico looks really, really good. If you come to your first road game in the SEC and it comes to a screeching halt, I think that's kind of going to be an embarrassment for that. And,
Oh, freaking froze.
no.
Oh, we froze again. But we got audio.
Is the audio free when it does that, or is it just?
No, I think we still got audio when it freezes.
Don't worry, guys.
Don't worry. J Will's on top of it. He got that thing quick. Are we back?
Yes, we're
Hey,
back.
look at that. We're getting off of Streamlabs OBS tonight. I'm telling you.
Yeah, gonna have to.
We're gonna make an adjustment. We're changing things up here. I'm tired of things not being dependable. We asked for consistency,
Yeah, we do.
and our production unit is not giving it to us, and it's nothing to do with us. It's everything to do with that system. So it's fired. It's absolutely fired. Where are we at? What ifs? What do you got for me?
I was going to, this kind of piggybacks off Jay Will's. What if Nico isn't ready for a hostile crowd on Saturday?
Well, Nico tells everybody that he loves the hostile crowd, which
does?
is what good quarterbacks tell you, that they love playing on the road. And good football players in general will tell you that they love playing on the road because everybody loves silencing a good crowd. So, I mean, it would kind of just fit this mold of, first-year starting quarterbacks. You have to go on the road. Now, Lenore Sellers, he kind of defied that this year going to Kentucky, but that's also Kentucky. No hate to Kentucky. I thought that I actually kind of like their stadium, but different levels.
Real
I would
professional
say.
environment.
Yes, it is.
It feels like a pro stadium.
Yeah, I actually like the trip to Lexington now. I kind of look forward to going there.
I wish there were more activities closer to the stadium.
Yeah.
It's a good 1.5 mile walk from anything relative. Like it's a good poke, but that's what I mean. It's a pro stadium in that sense. Also, not bad traffic leaving.
Yeah, wasn't too bad, but
a lot of side streets. Out there.
I would assume that Oklahoma is a step up from that. So it's and there's a whole lot more emotion in this football game because of Josh Heupel's return, the history that those two parties have. So it wouldn't surprise me too much. We saw Nico kind of put the ball at risk against NC State. I would imagine there's going to be some issues with that against Oklahoma as well. So it wouldn't surprise me too much. But he also showed against NC State he can bounce back and he can keep it rolling. And Tennessee doesn't necessarily need Nico to be this gunslinger if the run game's running as good as they are.
6.5 point home dog in the historic Big 12 matchup between BYU and K-State. What if the Cougars pull it off at home?
Oh, man. I don't even want to know what the Big 12
Just blow up the Big 12.
I don't even want to know what it looks like at the end of the season. Just disgusting. Kansas isn't what we thought they were.
We're going to get 8-4 Big 12 champ with the 4 seed in the playoff.
We are.
At some point, it may not be this year, but we're getting it at some point, right?
For sure.
As long as we get these automatic bigs,
Hell.
the Big 12 is going to Big 12 itself.
Hell, it might come from the ACC this year.
That's true. That's a good shout.
You might get 2 8-4 teams in the playoff this year.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Gross.
I got one for you. You got more? I got the home run what if at the end. So
I got
I'm
a
gonna
couple
hold
of good
it for the
ones.
end. All right, give me yours.
What if Florida absolutely destroys Mississippi State on the road?
Congrats. Mississippi State is dog doo-doo right now.
Doesn't do
Honestly,
anything?
I would be more upset if I were a Florida fan if you don't run them by 28 points.
Yeah.
You shitting me? They just got dubbed up hard by Toledo.
Yeah, I would almost say that Billy Napier...
Transitive property doesn't apply in college football. It does when Toledo beats you by 30 at home.
I would almost say that Billy Napier is at risk of being fired whether he wins or loses this football game. Because if you keep it close against Mississippi State and you don't look good, there's going to be a reason to let you go at that point. Because if you keep it close against a team like Mississippi State, and if you definitely lose to Mississippi State, that could very easily be the final nail in the coffin as well.
Yeah, the only thing that we say coming in the season that Billy Napier really had to do was look good, and you have not done that in 2 or 3 year games. So,
What if Washington State goes undefeated?
Congrats. Congrats on your Mountain West championship.
They be in the playoff, right?
They're in the playoff.
Blech.
Right?
Blech.
Listen to the remaining schedule. Boise.
Listen to their total schedule, first of all.
Exactly.
Is there a top 25 opponent on it?
Not at the moment.
Now wait a minute. They would
It's worse than Boise's schedule.
Yeah. It has. Well, look, just hear me out for
Come on,
a
feed me.
goddamn second.
Feed me.
San Jose State, Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, San Diego
states.
State, Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, Wyoming.
so many states.
Get the hell out of here.
You go undefeated.
Congrats.
You know what?
Give them the non-power 4 bid.
They
I'm
will.
here for it.
That's what
I'm here
they'll
for
get.
that. Is that what they're giving them? Are they
Well,
identifying the Pac-2 as that?
Are they not in the Mountain?
No,
Not
they're
yet,
the
no.
Pac-2 right now.
Yeah, there's just
the two-pack
Pac-2,
as they're calling.
but they don't get an auto
You
bid.
get it?
Obviously.
Two-pack.
RIP.
But they're doing that. So
You know
yeah,
what?
give them the non-power 4 bid. I'm fine with it.
They're essentially just Notre Dame, is what they are.
I will take that over a 10-2 App State or a 10-2 Boise.
Yeah, but I'm saying they wouldn't take the G5 bid. They would just be treated as Notre Dame.
I want this to happen now. I would love for Washington State to go undefeated and make the playoff now.
Oh, give a
because
big old middle finger.
yeah, the middle finger of, okay, everyone else left us out to dry. Watch us go to the playoff. And it would be even better if Oregon, LSU, or USC, these teams that left the Pac-12 and caused it to sink, none of them made the playoff. And then Washington State, the team that got left behind, gets to go to the dance.
I am only okay with this if it keeps Notre Dame out. Is that fair?
Man, you hate Notre Dame.
Is that good analysis?
You hate the Catholics.
Northern Illinois cheated on your wife.
Will Howard,
Brought back
Grace
herpes.
McCall,
Can't
Notre
do it.
Dame.
Can't do it. What if Nebraska's the second best team in the Big Ten?
Sounds.
Hear me out. I know it's only year 2 in Matt Rule's reign right now. I know this. I know we're a year 3 program. We believe your biggest pop historically in college football comes in year 3. But guys, they're 3-0 right now. And let's do this. Let's do a little game here. And Kirby, try not to be an asshole.
I'm going to be honest.
Illinois, Friday night. Is that a win?
Probably.
Would think so.
At Purdue, just got beat 66-10.
Yeah, that's a dub.
All right. Rutgers at home.
Should win that.
Greg Schiano, though.
Indiana.
We'll see.
Indiana.
We'll see.
I'm giving them a dub. At Ohio State, we'll go ahead and
That's
mark
a
the
loss.
loss down.
We'll say loss.
UCLA, they're getting a win there.
Yeah.
At USC, let's put a question mark on it. Let's
I
put
think
a
you'll
question
lose that
mark on it. Wisconsin,
We'll see.
No, they should beat Wisconsin.
thank you. At Iowa,
We'll see.
you got to muster up 30 points.
Yeah, but
We'll see.
I don't know. I feel like Iowa's just kind of one of those teams where it's going to feel like a question mark. Unless you are somebody like Ohio State, where it doesn't feel that way. Iowa can turn a rock fight with anybody.
So if you want to be an asshole in this segment, like my man Kirby here,
Not
you
being
can
an
make
asshole.
them 9-3. If you want to be pro Brooksy, you can make them 11-1.
Yeah, there's an avenue for it.
Look, all I'm saying is, why have we leaned so much into the Nebraska hype and kind of paused on everyone
I'm
else?
not leaning into that. I'm leaning into the schedule's trash, and I think there's 3 question marks on this if you really, really narrowed it down.
I think there's 4 or 5. Let's remember, they beat UTEP, bad football team. Northern Iowa, really bad football team. Colorado, bad football team. Like, Dylan Riles look great, but it's not like we've seen anything that would push Nebraska and make them think they've had a real challenge up to this point.
Jordan in the chat disagrees. He thinks they roll Ohio State. Thank you, Jordan.
Ooh.
Thank you, Jordan.
Okay.
I think that's a little
Is it
crazy.
at Illinois?
It is in
No,
Nebraska.
It's at Nebraska.
Okay.
Nebraska should win that game. I'm
They
fully
should.
confident in that. But I'm also not like, hey, Nebraska, this is the year they're back. Like,
I'm not saying they're back. I'm just saying, look, man, there's been a lot of questions about the Big Ten.
Yeah.
A lot of unknowns about who might be the second best team in that conference.
if Nebraska ends up being the second best team in the Big Ten this year, that will be a major feat by both Dylan
Do they lead
Raiola-
Penn State by the end of the year in your mind?
Penn
I don't
State's got an
think so.
easy schedule.
I don't think so.
But that's where we're getting into that discussion. We're definitely going to be there next year, where Nebraska has kind of vaulted or
For sure.
leapfrogged a team like Penn State on an annual basis.
They're definitely in the conversation right now. They're definitely at the top end of the Big Ten.
In year 2.
Yeah.
So there you go. Year 3, ups. All right. Any more what ifs?
Yeah.
What if USC throttles Michigan? Is it time for you to go ahead and stamp them in the title contender sector?
Yeah, because of what we just talked about with the Big Ten.
I don't know.
But take out the conference discussion. Like
Kirby into 4.
put them in the matchup. Put them in the matchup of everybody in college football. Like, would at that point, if they just route Michigan, would you say like, yeah, these guys are as good as the top 5 teams or top whatever teams in college football?
I think USC routing Michigan would be much more of an indictment on the program of Michigan than it would be saying, how USC is okay. That's where we stamp them as title contenders. They've beaten LSU. That's more where I would say that's more of a title contender game. Michigan, we're 4 weeks into the season at this point. They don't look good. They look bad, and I think the public and the rest of the media has kind of still got time to see how bad this team is. This is not the team we saw last year. This isn't a top 25 team.
Michigan? No.
I mean, I think we're approaching like Florida State levels, not catastrophic 0-3, but I think it could be a night and day turnaround like that.
All right, boys, should we be taking another look at Alabama quarterbacks? Watch out, Smooth.
In what way?
Yeah,
and I mean this is not it's just an interesting study if you just look at it from a standpoint of, if I just told you Nick Saban climbed to the top of college football and is the greatest of all time, never having anything other than a game manager or a traitsy somewhat dual threat.
I believe that.
Minus Bryce Young, but he's 5'9". And here we go. Let's run it down. The NFL success is really lacking at this point, which means the NFL is based a lot off like in here. Do you see, process, read the field right? But are you big enough, tall enough, strong enough, fast enough? Are you a traitsy enough football player to survive at this level? Tua, we know what's going on there. I think that's been a lot of bad luck, plus a lot of, you're also 6'2", 210 pounds, and you don't have a lot of muscle mass on you. You're not a huge individual. You're not even close to Josh Allen, let alone Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's a more physically impressive football player, and he's had a lot of injury concerns, right? Jalen Hurts is 2-7 in his last 9 football games, though. I think if anyone's going to be a solid NFL quarterback for an extended period of time of this list, I'm going to select Jalen of all these guys that we're going to talk about.
And he might be the biggest asterisk because he's, is he an Oklahoma product?
The passing development, certainly, and Saban's even giving credit for that. Mac Jones, we know the deal. Bryce Young just got benched. And we can say what we want to say about Bryce Young, and Carolina sucks, and there's not anything around him. It still looks like he's physically outmatched on the NFL level. We all agree with that, okay? So he never really signed the most traitsy guy at this position. Never. And he won with real game managers, the AJ McCarrons of the world, the Blake Sims of the worlds, the
Greg McElroy.
I love him to death. Great take artist, the Greg McElroys of the world. He did this, and then it was like, all right, now the highly ranked kids are going to start considering Alabama. And even at that point, it was like, the 6'2" guy that's really accurate out of Hawaii, left-handed, I'm going to take him. Didn't take the 5-star traitsy freak. He took the Tua guy, right? And then Jalen Hurts, really needs some development in the passing game, but I love this intangible aspect of this football player. Super strong. Let's take him. Nothing but a winner for me as a football player, but, never threw over 2,800 yards as a passer, as a quarterback at Alabama. So there's like all of these examples of this dude reaching the pinnacle of football in this level of football and doing so without arguably the best quarterback in the country ever.
Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the country in 2021.
He won the Heisman. 100% right. We think Bryce is a little bit different of a discussion point here. I will agree there. And I don't want to get flamed for that one. He was a different example. He's over here in this other category. He's
the outlier in that group for sure.
In the terms of he's got a 1% trait. His arm talent is 1% trait.
Yes.
100%. And then there's the Jalen Milroe discussion. Jalen Milroe, uber traitsy, right? Uber traitsy. But the offensive coordinator that he hired spent 2 years telling him he needs to change positions, right? So there's a lot of questions about that guy from a professional standpoint too.
Would Kirby Smart fall in this category?
I think Kirby values decision-making and values making sure the other 21 guys are NFL caliber and the best they can possibly be. We'll figure out the quarterback on the way. So he's got to make sure we don't lose games. He doesn't have to be the reason we win. I think that's the overall arcing message of this.
I guess my question then would be, are Kirby Smart and Nick Saban the only two coaches to do this in the playoff era? Win a national title with non-traitsy quarterbacks? Or
non-NFL automatic successes too.
Yeah.
I mean, the only real question mark is Ohio State quarterbacks are stamped, but CJ didn't win. The rest of them that won are question marks in the NFL.
I would say
Clemson guys are stamped.
I would say Cardell Jones was a question mark.
That's the Ohio State fall in right there.
Are we counting J.J. McCarthy as a traitsy guy? Or?
Yeah, he's traitsy.
Yeah, he's 6'3.5", 225, and he's a top 10 draft pick off traits. Definitely not off tape and off stats.
It's true.
100% traits.
Interesting.
It is. When you do it this way, and I didn't want to do this as Saban quarterbacks suck in the league. I just wanted to do this from an experiment of look at all this. Look at what he did in terms of climbing the pinnacle of this, and never had, apart from Bryce, never had this, oh my God, all-world quarterback talent.
And he never needed it because, for the first half of his dynasty, he had the best defenses arguably college football seen. The run that Alabama defenses went on from 2009 to about 2015 before Kirby. In 2016, that 2016 defense was really good. So,
and the running backs that he was pumping out every single year was absurd.
He had, 2 Heisman winning running backs, one that arguably could have won it in Trent Richardson. There's always been dudes to surround the quarterback. So it makes sense when you lay it out like that. If you were to say, hey, we've got a guy that just is a really solid player, really good, and then we're going to put 21 elite football players everywhere around him, that's a recipe for success.
I think the other thing it tells me, and even if you want to apply Belichick into this discussion, those guys have always prioritized the brain and the intangibles at that position far more than they ever did the physical traits. And that might be something to take from this as well. That it's not about being the biggest, tallest, fastest, strongest at throwing the football or the best at that. Sometimes it's about the other things. However, they don't succeed outside of your framework, right? We haven't seen that at a high rate yet.
Seen what?
One of these quarterbacks go outside of this framework of everything else around me is great. I just got to not lose the game. Now I've got to go be the guy, and I can't quite do it. I can't quite summon that.
I'm sure it's an example. I'm trying to think of one.
From a quarterback standpoint at Alabama, you will not.
Oh, at Alabama, no.
No, you will not. Interesting.
It is.
No points really to be made there. Just interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation.
Speaking of interesting, the Big 12, super, super interesting right about now. And I think we're going to get a picture clear up the next 2 weeks.
We are going to get a picture clear up this week because we have 2 very important games early on in the season that feels like it's going to kind of decide who the front runner is in this conference and likely who's going to go on and win the conference, it feels like. Those 2 games being this week, you have Utah versus Oklahoma State. Utah, that's who everybody felt like was the shoe-in to be the top contender in this conference. They had a lot of success in the Pac-12. They come into a really bad conference. Now they're going to match up against Oklahoma State, who got put on the ropes by Arkansas. The jury is still out on Arkansas, it feels like, because they're kind of this very up-and-down team. So Utah versus Oklahoma State, that's a big one. Well, then Oklahoma State immediately goes and plays Kansas State this next week. So you're going to get a good look at Utah against Oklahoma State. Obviously going to get a good look at Oklahoma State as well. And then Kansas State is going to play one of the upper-tier teams in this conference as well the next week.
You're in my damn doghouse right about now. How dare you? How dare you? Your look on your face is hysterical. How dare... I'm kidding, by the way.
Screw the Neil Browns.
No. That's not where I'm going. How dare you forgetting the fighting Amish? How dare you forget Arizona State still in this thing? Took Texas State down to the wire, managed to scrape out a victory. They're on the road this week at Texas Tech. The fighting short man syndromes of the Arizona State Sun Devils. How dare you? How dare you?
It took him 3 weeks and he's on a new fighting team. Fighting Neil Brown's dumped.
Hey, I've been screaming the Arizona State wagon for a minute now. Y'all be easy on me. This is one of the most fun watches in college football right now. I
love Arizona State, dude.
I'm surprised they're letting them play at 12:30 kick this week. You got to schedule these dudes for prime time
on Friday.
Prime time, and what shit else on? Just like when they play at 10 o'clock.
There's a reason.
There's a Nebraska.
How dare you?
The Nebraska or Illinois game's Friday.
No disrespect
takes precedence
to the Amish people. Good people.
They're not watching. You don't have to.
Arizona State, though, come on. Come on, man.
Oh,
what
shit.
You mean? Come on.
Careful, the Amish might hear you.
Goodness gracious. Done switched up on the Neil Browns, the fighting Neil Browns.
Hey, man, you lay flops twice. I'm out. Give me them fighting short man syndromes and Sun Devils, baby.
Oh, man.
I swear, I need to re-hit this take, man. You got to watch Arizona State football.
It's fun.
Their defensive linemen are 5'10", 310. I mean, it's hysterical. They all fire hydrants out there.
Love it.
They're all 2 inches short. That's it. They just need 2. That's it.
You know what that means, though, right? Brooks Curse is about to strike again. Arizona State's catching.
Oh, for sure. Week. They're taking 5 in a row. But no, back to the real Big 12 discussion. And not the trolling.
Just again, kind of to recap. So you're going to get a good look at both Utah and Oklahoma State this weekend, and then Oklahoma State has to follow that up by playing Kansas State. So the top 3 teams in this conference, you're going to get a good matchup or a good gauge of where they stack up against the other top Big 12 teams and really figure out, like, okay, who might be the clear front runner here? Who do we need to start labeling as, you're probably going to be the playoff bid for this conference?
It's weird that really there hasn't been a lot of games played in the Big 12. Like the number 1 team right now is UCF. They have a Big 12 record of 1-0. It's a bunch of 0-0 until it goes down to TCU, who's 0-1.
Yeah, that's what happens when UCF and TCU.
There's been right, but I'm saying, like, we haven't seen any of these Big 12 teams. They've been playing
the cupcakes to start the season.
And there's been a lot of early bye weeks. Like, there's a lot of teams that are 1-1 right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
but I mean, like, Kansas at 1-2, Texas Tech. Like, there's a lot of, like, teams down on the bottom of this run.
It's a crappy draw for Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get the 2 meaningful games back to back. Utah, this is their only big game all year, isn't it?
Yeah,
the rest of the schedule is pretty easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the only ranked opponent on Utah's schedule this year, so they dodged K-State in the mix. I think Gundy actually joked about this in his press conference. He said every year he sends almonds to the Big 12 commissioner. He needs to start sending them to the Big 12 scheduler.
They got Iowa State, who's ranked number 20 right now.
Yeah, Josh Pate's PR department pulling real heavy on that.
Hey, man, the Cyclones.
Jealousy.
You watched some Arch tape this week, didn't you?
What's up?
You watched some Arch tape?
I did watch Arch tape today, and I need the algorithm to do something for us right here. All right, that's some primo Arch stuff that you need to go watch. If you're any type of football fan, it's worth paying attention to, as all of our film studies are. So, yeah, I did an Arch Manning film study, looked at all of those completions. Very hard to establish a comparison on this one. Very, very hard. I think I've settled on Joe Burrow.
Oh, okay.
I think I've settled on Joe Burrow.
Well, I mean, like, how many snaps has he taken total?
Yeah, like 30. Nah, he took 30 Saturday. He's probably taken like 70 total. But I think that's where I'm settling. I'm settling in on Joe Burrow. He showed elite flashes, right? 25 yards per reception or per completion in this football game. He had the run that flashed as well that everybody saw on social media. But he shows signs of being young as well in this tape. And I thought it was really, really impressive to watch this young man. And I also talked about in the film study how I love this about football, especially for young players. You saw him first play of the game, first play he's in. They call a play action rollout for him. He throws a touchdown immediately. Comes back the next possession. They call a read option. He pulls the ball, 68-yard touchdown. And then the next 2 or 3 possessions, man, the game really, really humbled him. Okay, in the next 3 possessions, he made very, very young mistakes. He took a sack for holding the football on too long, didn't notice a nickel pressure from his backside, got hit really, really, really hard. Got to avoid those moving forward. Also pulled the ball when he shouldn't have on the very next read option. They fired a corner on him. Corner sitting right there for him. He takes a TFL, a rookie mistake there that he's going to learn and grow from. He was very, very risky with the football in his own end the first time they were pinned up inside their own 10. Held on to the football way too long and threw a ball up that was very, very risky, almost was intercepted. He threw into pressure a pressure on a screen pass just a few possessions later. But here was the important thing that I found in that film study. He learned from his mistakes in game. And this is something that is really important, particularly about the quarterback position. We can't make the same mistake twice. Later on in that football game, he gets pressured again in his own end, the same exact situation, color flashes. I could probably wait to try to throw this ball to Hunter or Gunner. Gunner, trying to fit this ball to Gunnar Helm, shorter football brain, trying to fit this ball to Gunnar Helm. He's going to open, but we got pressure. Let's check the ball down instead of trying to make the risky play in our own end. So we saw correction on errors in the middle of this football game. He's very, very unlikely to make the same mistake twice. I think that's very, very important. And I think the most important thing to know about this guy throughout the rest of his career, yes, he is super traitsy. Yes, he is super talented. Yes, he makes great decisions with the football. And he's going to make mistakes. He's going to learn from them. He is a Manning. He's got all the intangibles from a mental aspect and acumen of a football player that you need. But he's always going to be playing for a really, really quarterback-friendly coordinator. A really, really friendly quarterback coordinator that made Mac Jones look like a top 10 pick. So I know he's great, and I know he's physically gifted, but there's going to be a maximization of his skill set under this coordinator. So I would be very, very aware of that moving forward. Not to take him away from this guy. He's going to be he's going to be the number one quarterback drafted in his class. I don't think there's any doubt about it. What?
Did you know that you can already place bets on which team is going to draft him?
Good God. Vegas loves taking money, dude. Holy shit.
Get some early action on that, baby.
Don't touch that.
That's crazy. They're just trying to bait some folks. You out? It's been a long, hard work day for that man right there. Kirby, I think we know some. By the way, please go check out that film study. If no other reason than just to leave a comment, hit that like button,
help your boy out,
share it to some friends, help your boy out. So there we go. Things we know, things we don't know about college football so far through 3 weeks of the season. Kirby, where do you want to start?
Things between things we know and don't know.
I mean, I know the SEC's deep as shit right now.
Yeah,
I know that.
That's my first point. Actually, the SEC is the best conference in college football.
Yep.
Every year we come into it, it's Big Ten, SEC.
Make sure you're hitting that like button.
I think it's clear that SEC blows it away this year. There's really no debate. You've got 6 of the top 7 teams in the conference right now. It's the SEC's numero uno this year. So I think it's fair to say we both know that one. I know Colorado's a bad football team.
That's fair.
I think coming into this year, there was some speculation of, hey, year 2 under Dion, how much better do things look? They showed a lot of promise earlier in the season. Things kind of went astray there. Could they maybe win the playoff now? They're a bad football team.
I know Michigan's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I know they're bad. I'm not going to say they're poorly coached, but I know they're not as well coached as they were. And that's an easy stance take there, but it's noticeable. It's noticeable that they don't have adjustments and answers that they used to.
Mm-hmm.
I know the ACC is pretty much boiled down to one team right now.
Dilly.
Yeah, dilly indeed. But if Miami,
that's too relevant. But
just go over it next time. Go dilly.
Well, why are you just yelling random stuff? You're throwing me off. I don't know what else to say.
As if you haven't worked with my ADD ass.
I don't know what else to say in that moment.
Let's try this again. Keep going.
I know that Miami is the only top team in this conference right now.
Dilly.
Clemson might get to that point. The jury's still kind of out on them. I'm curious to see how they look down the stretch. You're going to get some tests of them. Maybe K. Klubnik in this offense has started to figure some things out. The defense is good for Clemson. I know that much. But yeah, it really is just Miami. They look like the clear front runner, and then Clemson maybe trailing behind.
I know Billy's cooked. We all know that.
Yeah.
And I know because Billy's cooked, I know for a fact, whether he leaves Ole Miss or not, Lane Kiffin's getting a raise this offseason. I know that. And a hefty one, too, which therefore Kirby will probably get a bump. So, good for all those guys. Good for Jimmy Sexton, too. Good bump on your 3%. You think he's taking 3 or 5?
He's probably taking 3.
I mean, he's elite. He's probably taking 5.
Yeah, probably taking 5. You're right. I know that Alabama is a completely different team under Kalen DeBoer. And we knew that, the Nick Saban era ending would kind of bring a difference of culture and things like that. They play nothing like they played under Nick Saban. That's one of the craziest.
They're totally different.
They are totally different. Like there's not one semblance on the field when it comes to between the whistles of Nick Saban's identity on that team. Which it took 1 year. That was what was so impressive to me.
Anything else we know?
Yeah, you guys already talked about the SEC being very, very competitive.
Things I don't know. Anything about the Big 12? I don't feel like I have any substantive answers there.
I know it's one of the worst conferences.
Like, I don't even know if Utah's really good.
No, we do not.
I need to add this, actually, and what I do know. I was wrong about the college football playoff expansion in this area. It hasn't made regular season games any more meaningless as a fan. As a fan of college football.
Well, you're a fiend, by the way. We are all fiends.
Yeah, and I would say
we're gonna mainline football anyways.
I would say, but what I'm saying is when I'm watching these close football games, I don't get this feeling that they can lose. It's going to be all right. I still have this feeling that this game matters more than anything. You have to win this football game. Losing is not an option. I don't think it has taken. And that was my complaint about the expanded playoff. That was take away some of these feelings in these big football games of it's not really going to matter. I think that it still creates that very intense feeling of you get that pit in your stomach. You're waiting to see who's going to lose out on this battle.
All right, I got to address this. Y'all got to stop falling for clickbait. According to GPS, he's faster in miles per hour than Tyreek. That's this year. Tyreek's got miles per hour up to 23. Okay, there's a substantive difference between 23 miles an hour and 20.5 or whatever it was this week. So
20.7.
I was a little clickbaity on that one. Not even a little.
Say.
That was a lot clickbaity on
Pay
that
attention to who's tweeting those things, by the way. They kind of do it every single day.
It's kind of a consistent baiting. I don't know anything about Ohio State right now.
Yeah.
I know they look like a wagon, but it's Akron, it's Western Michigan, it's Marshall this week, it's Michigan State the week after that, it's Iowa before Oregon. I don't know anything about them, and for the same matter, I don't know anything about Miami other than that they beat a bad Florida team on the road.
I was saying this before the show. I don't think I could, off the top of my head right now, name one Ohio State highlight that I've seen this year. I know,
except for Jeremiah Smith.
I know Jeremiah Smith has made some big plays, but they don't stick out to me. Like, there hasn't been anything that Ohio State's done this year up to this point that I'm like, oh wow, they are actually a really good football team.
You're not seeking out the Will Howard tape right about now, huh?
It's not that. It just hasn't hit my algo.
I don't know who the best
Deep State running deep.
I don't know who the best team in college football is. I really have no idea who I would tab that as. What are you puzzling looking at me for?
Say that one more time.
Who I would tab as that?
Tab that ass is what
you did some more. You did some more.
You heard it too, right?
I heard it.
Okay, just making sure.
Children.
You know what? I don't know.
Y'all never told me the bit I missed last night.
Oh.
Do we? You know, we'll wait till Thursday.
Okay.
Why are we waiting till Thursday?
Just make him think about it more. You know what?
I got 2 minutes. You want to tell me?
I don't know who the most dynamic running back in this sport is right now. Coming into the season, we were kind of like, hey, you know, Ohio State's got a lot of guys. Ollie Gordon might be up there. There hasn't been anyone that's really stuck out so far this year. Donovan Edwards was on this list. Hasn't really played great. So,
dude, you ain't been watching Ashton Genty?
Yeah,
that is clear cut. He's top running back.
Yeah,
right now. That dude is doing everything.
I just forgot about Ashton.
Dylan Sampson, close second.
He's been playing really well.
He's been playing good ball right about now.
Yeah, that's on me. I completely forgot about Ashton Genty.
Typical.
We give this guy a microphone.
Typical what?
We give this guy a microphone.
Just overlooking the people that deserve all the attention. Like nobody wanted to be talking about John Mateer until now. Until I put him in the spotlight, I put y'all on some Mateer.
You put us on the Mateer game.
I'm trying, man. I'm really trying for you guys.
Out here spreading Mateer, Christmas Mateer.
All right, I guess that works a little bit.
It was quite a stretch. We got a whole nother hour coming up right now. It's the local hour. It's an important one. We'll see y'all in about 45 seconds. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape.
Because, you know, they do be riding up when I'm sitting in this seat.
They do be riding. Welcome into our local hour. We got a great one for you. We got report cards for you guys. We got the favorite moment of the 2024 season so far. Why UGA fans shouldn't be worried. A delicious take delivered by Jay Will tonight. Things we know, things we don't know. Georgia edition. Player you're most excited to see healthy. Next time you want to see a 5-star wide receiver, remember tonight's show. We're going to close it with that one. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Better now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in up to 23 states, including the fine state of Georgia. Better is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks or click the link in the description of this video today. Shout out to those guys over at Better. Again, 3-0. We got that lock of the week coming up tomorrow night on the next show. We're gonna go 4-0 this week. I got a sneaky suspicion. By the way, also 4-1 on locks that we're tweeting out on Twitter. God dang you, Missouri! Can't handle your business against Boston College. Nonetheless, we're having a great week and a great season over on Better with the link in the description of this video. Where do you want to start, boys? I think I want to start with Jay Will's take.
Oh, you want to hear my take first?
Yeah, put that man in an ISO. Let's cook.
Okay, so I just kind of got to thinking of Georgia has had some of these football games over the years under the Kirby Smart era where the offense looks a bit shaky, and it's been for a variety of reasons. It's been under multiple coordinators, though. What I wanted to know is, was this ever a reoccurrence in the season? Was this an ongoing issue if this ever happened in a season? And was it ever repeated directly after? How did they bounce back after these performances? Well, I took out 2016. I feel like that was kind of a wash for this stat category because there's a lot of moving parts in that. There's a lot going on. True freshman quarterback starting. So I just went from 2017 on. Since 2017, Georgia has failed to score more than 20 points in a game 8 times. Immediately after the games, right after those games, Georgia is 7-1, and they are averaging 37.2 points per game. UGA has scored less than 20 points multiple times this season, just one time since 2017, and that was during the 2019 season where Georgia finished 50th in points per game.
Can I ask you who was the one loss?
I was about to ask that too.
It was to Florida, or no, sorry, it was to Florida after the
Kentucky game.
Yeah,
one of my favorite takes of all time because I felt like you talking about going back and watching it. I felt like they were really, we're just going to run the rock and get out of here today. They had 12 pass attempts in that football game, I think. And a week after, it was right before the bye. They were going to have to go play the most explosive offense in the country at that time, and it was Florida. And I thought, man, why are we just out here running the rock up against the wall against Kentucky when we know we're going to have to throw it really, really well the couple weeks against Florida? And I almost thought this same process with what we got going on, right? Because they just had a pretty stagnant offensive performance against Kentucky, and then hey, bye week you got Bama coming up. Bama super explosive offense, and I pushed back on myself on this take because I don't think they were reserved for Saturday night at Kentucky. No. I think if they don't get their butt whooped in time of possession, I think they throw it 30 times in that football game. They were balanced. It wasn't like they were just, we're going to run the rock 60 times and get out of here with a 14-6 lead. They were trying to drive the ball. They were trying to throw the football. They just didn't execute. Yeah,
and the pushback I got on this in the comments on Twitter was, well, were any of those teams Bama? Were any of the teams that you had to play immediately after Bama? Well, I would tell you this. History has told you it doesn't matter what you do the week before you play Bama. You could put up 50, you could put up 40, you could put up 30. The track record is what it is against Alabama. So I would not use that as an indictment of what is about to happen in Tuscaloosa this next week. It's just kind of Alabama, Georgia, known to be a good football game. It's always going to be a tight football game. That's what I would lay that the analysis on that football game right now as.
My handicap's being brought up in the chat. It's CTE brain, but it's actually about, I shot around 85 all summer, so I'd say about 13.
Whoa.
What's up?
That's just the old, okay.
Just random.
Just so random.
Just ADD brain.
Probably the most random thing, just so excited for Jay to give this take. Give this man an ISO. Finishes the take.
Y'all want to know in the chat.
Y'all want to know what my handicap is?
Dude, the take was great.
Thank you. It was.
The take was great.
It was. I saw the stat when he tweeted it.
All right, we got a super chat, so we're really going to take a sidetrack here. Brooks, thoughts on Kentucky's smoke and mirrors affecting Carson? Do you believe he over-cerebraled? You thought you had to help me there.
Def not a word.
Def not a word. The game with that is the lack of cerebral ability of South Carolina QB help him. So, first of all, thank you for the super chat. I don't think it was an over cerebralness. I think the picture was definitely cloudy, right? I think there was some mixed coverage. I think they did a great job disguising. To answer your next question, is anybody else I think you're alluding to, is anybody else going to be able to do that? I don't think Bama is going to be able to because they're very, very young. I think they might be able to try, but it's going to lead to some busted coverages as they've already had this season. We've seen that on tape several times. It's been a matter of the opposition not being able to complete those balls.
Yeah, I think it was also a combination of the disguises they give you, smoke and mirrors, combined with the fact that once you realize the smoke and mirrors what they were, it was, oh shit, someone's at my feet, I'm getting pressured. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a perfect mix for Carson Beck to have a bad game because one, it takes longer to diagnose things because you can't look up and say, okay, it's too high, I'm probably going to get 2 or 4 here. Oh wait a minute, they're rotating now. I have to do. Oh shit, someone's at my feet. That's what it seemed like he was getting the entire game. So,
and by the way, I thought Kentucky did a tremendous job of playing zone coverage and doing so jumping routes early. Like most zone coverage is very soft. People are backing off. They're trying to figure out what the concepts are. For example, that number 54 and number 2 from Kentucky, they jumped tight ends immediately. They didn't drop back. They jumped tight ends immediately, hugged them immediately, and didn't allow things to open up and clarify the picture very quickly for the quarterback. So I thought, sometimes, and this is a hard answer for a lot of people, you want to blame somebody. Sometimes you got to give credit before you give blame. You got to give credit to Kentucky before you come out here and be like, oh, we just suck. Well, they made you suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Georgia didn't just all of a sudden get really bad, in 1 week. It wasn't like they just turned into a bad football team.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to me. So the immediate reaction is, we weren't as good as we thought we were. Well, there goes the season. Like, yes, Georgia had a bad performance, and yes, Kentucky played their ass off in this game, but there's going to be regression in the mean somewhere. So,
all right, we got a great show for you guys. Let's hammer these report cards, boys. This is through 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
This is not this past weekend.
Quarter
this
report.
Is through 3 weeks, quarter report. It brings me back to the days where you get that report card.
Oh, yeah.
And relatively smart young child I was, but the disciplinary signs of that were never very good.
A lot of pleasure to have in class, talks a lot.
For you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was a distracting kid, dude.
Yeah, mine was just talks a lot. Can you get this kid to shut up? Report cards. Let's start with the offense. Quarterback. What do you want to give it?
I gave it a B+.
I gave it a solid B.
I gave it a solid B as well. Same note. Why?
I think that through the first 2 games, Carson looked really good. I mean, he looked like the quarterback that he was the entire season of last year, a processor, always making the right decisions, always knew where to go with the football. Until this last week where we just kind of touched on it, where there was a lot of things going on. It wasn't just Carson having a bad game. There were a lot of other factors that played in that. But the biggest knock on me, and I'm sure you guys are all going to hit on this, is why you have him at a flat B. The deep shots still aren't there. So that's why I have it at a B+. I think he's played really well still. I think he has put Georgia in good positions, obviously. He's kept the offense moving most of the time. So I gave it at a B+.
I'm going to change my grade. I'm going to give it a B+ as well for his ability to extend plays with his legs. Yes, we haven't seen very much, if at all, any improvement in the deep shot accuracy and the deep shot consistency. However, this team would have not a plethora. I think his team has 4 or 5 sacks on the stat sheet if Carson doesn't get better at that one area. I like the B+ right there. What were you going to say?
So, yeah, I was going to say that the reason I didn't put a B+ was I agree with you. He has extended plays with his legs. He's kind of done that before. We saw a lot of that in 2023. So that part didn't really give me a plus. It's the deep balls for me. It's the unwillingness and the inconsistencies there. It looked decent at times against Tennessee Tech. There were some plays where it was like, you got to have these, you got to make these. These are layups for an elite quarterback. So that's why I've been hesitant to kind of put it up there.
Tomorrow. Yeah, so you settled at a B, right into like an 85. Is that where we're at?
About that, yeah.
He's fresh off his worst performance as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Kentucky game definitely brought the average down for me.
Hits that one ball to Dylan Bell slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that ball or a few blocks get changed, and it looks very different.
All right. Running backs. I think it's been a bright spot for this offense. I gave it an A-. It would be an A+ if we could catch the ball.
I gave it an A.
You gave it an A?
I gave it an A. The reason why it's not an A+ is because of that. I think everywhere else, it's been phenomenal from that running back room.
I think there's been a couple of I thought Branson, everyone knows I thought Branson had a tough week 1. I thought Nate's been has a bit of a propensity to bounce right now, as most young backs do. Other than that, the run keys have been relatively flawless on tape, especially from Etienne. My God.
Yeah.
I gave it a B+ based on the expectations that we had from this group coming into the season. Like, Trevor Etienne was going to be, now I understand he didn't play in week 1. We're like, oh, Branson Robinson's back. I think Branson Robinson is still getting his legs about him. Week 1 was kind of rough. We all said looked better in week 2. He's progressively getting better. He still doesn't quite look like the Branson we saw in 2022. I think it's going to take a little bit more time. Obviously, Roderick getting hurt doesn't really help your case as much. Cass Jones has been a breath of fresh air there just because of, changing things up from speed-wise and like that. Nate Frazier obviously is a hit, but like you said, still shows some kind of freshman tendencies at some time. And again, there isn't really a catching threat out of the backfield right now, which is the biggest knock. I think it knocks you down a whole letter grade because it severely changes the ability of your offense and how dynamic it is. Like, we talk about James Cook and why he was so great, Kenny McIntosh, all these guys, because they were such massive threats out of the backfield. If Trevor Etienne motions out right now and you have a man-on-man on the outside, it's not that much of a threat. It's not, oh, shit, here they go with that. James Cook doing that, Kenny McIntosh, that was almost a guaranteed touchdown at that point. So that's why I've got it down a letter grade. It's a B+. They've looked really good. It's the best running back room we've seen in a while, but it's still not as good as it should be, I think.
And by the way, it would look a lot better, this offense, I think, if we were able to design a portion of this offense with the back being a threat out of the backfield. It's something that is certainly missing.
I think even without having a threat out of the backfield in the passing game, I think if that running back room already had a few explosives, I think I would have given it an A+.
All right, I want to hit this right now.
I knew you would.
I want to hit both of these. We'll hit the serious one first. Favorite syrup, Mrs. Buttersworth or Aunt Jemima or Hungry Jack, and favorite food to top with syrup. Whichever one sugar-free. First and foremost, that's my priority.
What about in the childhood?
Huh?
What about in the childhood, though?
Oh, I think my mom was an Aunt Jemima girl. I think that's what she bought in the house.
We were a log cabin family.
Oh, log cabin
that
hits.
Sounds so fancy.
Log cabin hits.
Is that the one in the jug?
It's the one in the bottle that's shaped like a chimney.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking like, damn, are we rich?
No, log cabin is good stuff. But my grandmother always made it with Mrs. Butterworth's.
Favorite food to top syrup with? I mean, the OG's any type of pancake or waffle, but that's so obvious.
I got it.
I'm a ketchup on eggs guy. But the sneaky one, syrup on eggs with some type of meat, whether it be bacon or sausage. So yeah,
that's a good one.
That one.
You don't know about that one?
The real answer is Eggo cinnamon waffles with syrup.
Basic.
Well, maybe when I was 5, but
dude, I haven't had. All right, first of all,
I think that's the last time I've eaten an Eggo waffle. Those things suck.
How big of a problem? This comes from Josh
I'd rather make my own
Armstrong.
waffles.
How big of a problem do we have at left tackle? Ernest looks heavy. He looks slow, and he was getting his butt whooped. What's plan B? Did he regress that much? So I don't disagree with you that Ernest has been beaten the last 2 weeks. I also don't agree or disagree with you that, and I wouldn't put it the way that you put it. Salsa on eggs, by the way, elite. Wouldn't have put it the way that you put it. I would have said, susceptible to the speed rush. Is there a weight gain that had happened this offseason? And based off in-person evaluations, having been on the sideline the last 3 games, I would say there's about 10 pounds that has been added that needs to come off. I think there needs to be something there. By the way, I think your football program has noticed this. I can't confirm this. Monroe Freeling went into that football game really, really early at left tackle.
Yeah, he did.
Way earlier than he had the weeks prior. So I think there's been some recognition of this. Let's continue with our grades here, boys, and let's stay with the offensive line. What's our grade system here?
I
gave it a C+.
I have a flat B.
I gave B-. I
have a flat B strictly on the fact that Carson hasn't gotten hit on the ground a lot. You've had some pretty decent running holes. You went up against a really tough front seven in the first half of Clemson, then you started figuring things out. There's been low spots in this offensive line, but the floor hasn't been that low, and the highs have been really high. There have been a lot of times where you're like, oh, wow, these guys are elite. This might be the Joe Moore winning offensive line this year. And then there's times where it's like, we can't seem to protect Carson. He's getting a lot of pressure. So
Week 1 was to the Georgia standard. The last 2 weeks have not been.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's the way I would put it. You're 2 out of 3 for not playing to your standard. And this standard is way higher at the University of Georgia. Okay, pressures are not accepted. They're not. Sorry. You got a bunch of assets allocated to that offensive line, which we're going to talk about later tonight. It's the reason you are who you are. Your program is built at the line of scrimmage. You guys have not played to your standards through the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say that there's 3 people that I would say have consistently delivered every single week. I'd say Tate Ratledge.
Interior.
I would say Jared Wilson. I would say Dylan Fairchild. I would say those are the 3 guys that through 3 weeks, they've showed up every Saturday and they have played to that standard that you're mentioning. But the outsides and even the guys that have kind of rotated in after them, there's just been some issues, and I think it does get cleaned up eventually, but you better hope it does at least.
And this is something I didn't ask directly about with Kirby, but Kirby mentioned in preseason that he has never gone into a year where a younger, more talented, more hungry football player didn't beat out an older guy. All right, he's never gone a season without it happening, right? Monroe Freeling is on the verge of doing something like this, and he's earned it. He's played really, really well. By the way, really, really traits the individual. I'm going to go with that C+. Tight ends, boys, what do we got?
I gave it a B-.
I did too. And it's hard to grade this because you had to accept and understand that there was going to be a massive drop-off from the production you saw the last 3 years. I think it would be unfair and a disservice to this tight end room to say, well, it's not as good as Brock Bowers. Like, they haven't done anything as good as Brock Bowers this year. But there's been some inconsistencies at tight end. There's been some missed blocks. There's been some questions of, like, is there a reason they're not getting as involved in the passing? And there's just been a lot of mental mistakes that I think should be avoidable. So I'm giving them a B-. But again, hasn't been bad.
I settled on a C+. I think I'm going to upgrade to a B-. You guys have sold.
Why is that?
You guys sold me. I think the passing game has been okay. I'm not going to lie to you. I think, and by the way, a lot of teams playing middle field closed on you. A lot of teams. So they're going to take the tight end in terms of Oscar away just off of assignment. The safety's in the middle field. He's got to get over the linebackers. He's basically drawing attention at that point. I think his run game assignments, Oscar, in terms of in the box blocking, I think has been on the standard. Everything else, blocking on the edge, none of these guys have blocked to the standard. Lawson hasn't. Oscar hasn't. You guys have shat on Jurasic, and that's deserved. He had a bad week. But none of these guys have blocked to the standard out on the edge. And it's part of the reason why you were so great in the screen game in years prior. 3-yard screens the last several years have been 7-yard screens. That will impact your yards per play average. That is not a major issue. It's decreased this year, and it's in all these areas, right? It's in the deep shot accuracies. It's in the losing explosives, right? We lost an explosive Saturday on a screen pass because the tight end didn't do his job. Can't do that. We can't do that kind of stuff.
I agree.
All right, on to the wide receiver room. What do you got?
Gave it a B.
Yeah.
I went B+. I think that just based on what we've seen in the past, this is one of your more dynamic rooms. And it's also been a pleasant surprise. Like, Aaron Smith has boomed this year for you. Colby Young has been the effective player that we thought he would. Dylan Bell hasn't really gotten involved yet as much as we probably would like to see him, but he's still there. Dom Lovett looks really good. There's a lot of good going on in this offensive room for the wide receivers. There hasn't been a lot of great. There hasn't been a lot of, oh my gosh, we have elite playmakers. There's been some times where they've had trouble getting separation. I think this was also an issue in the Kentucky game. So I'm giving them a B+. I think it's probably been one of the better units on this offense, but still some room for improvement.
I gave it a B-. I would have gave it a B+. I think Dylan Bell's slow start has kind of started me on this. I think that's why. I've been waiting for this guy to show up in the chat all day. My man DJ Ology is the gentleman who produced that brand new countdown climber music countdown clock music for us. And I want to do this first time, long time. We've done this for a listener. Our man DJ Ology, give him 3. We will take any music suggestions as long as they're good. That one is a banger. Shout out to DJ Ology. Made that himself. Got his own little music studio in his mom's basement, just like us.
Hell yeah, dude.
I don't know if it's in his mom's basement.
Love it.
But you just assume nowadays.
Love supporting small business.
Basement.
Yeah, I do think that the wide receiver room hasn't done anything bad necessarily this year.
Yeah.
Just think that they haven't kind of been a bright shining moment. They haven't had this bright shining moment just yet where like Dominic Lovett individually has looked good at times. Colby Young has had some bright moments as well where it looks like that one's going to be a hit. Arian Smith has certainly looked great. Dylan Bell, I mean, just kind of waiting on it a little bit. And that's something that I didn't kind of expect this season. So again, like nothing bad I would really say about the wide receiver room. I wouldn't say that they've done anything bad or they've hindered this offense too much. I do think though that this wide receiver room is building into something better as the season progresses. And I think this unit will get better.
Seen some deep crosses from Dylan Bell, like always. We've seen some of those run after the catch opportunities for him. We saw the double move on the corner route against Tennessee Tech. I'm waiting for him to beat press man coverage. That's what I'm waiting to happen. I'm waiting for that moment to where, they're playing man. All we've got is Colby. I want that to be out of the concern column.
I was going to say, it's kind of interesting to me that the guys that you came into the season with really high hopes on haven't necessarily reached the expectations, while the ones that we were kind of like, we'll see, maybe a next year thing, or might have a role on them, have really boomed. London Humphreys, Arian Smith, guys like that have all exceeded expectations through the first quarter of this season. So,
all right, on to the defensive side of the football. I think we're going to get some relatively high grades here. Start with the defensive line. I flat out gave them an A+. The interior of this defensive line has played so damn tough with no bodies. Like, this is a unit over the last 5, 6, 7 years since Kirby's been here that they play more people than anybody on the interior defensive line. They play more people than anybody on the defense, period. Hard stop, okay? At that interior defensive line position, they rotate bodies left and right. They want to play 6, 7, 8 guys. They've really only been able to play 2 through the first 3 games of this football season, and those 2 guys, Nazir Stackhouse and Kristen Miller, have played out of their minds. A+.
I gave it an A-. I think that, I don't know, I guess I kind of consider that the lack of depth is somewhat of a knock, but you also can't help that. I would say that they played really well through 3 weeks, continued to show love to Kristen Miller and Nazir Stackhouse for how they have stepped up. But the defensive line as a whole, I can't think of anything that I would complain about other than maybe just continue the consistency, continue the disruptiveness that you provided in this backfield. And I think you'll get that back once you continue to get healthy, once you get guys that are able to stay fresh throughout 4 quarters of a football game. I think it will continue to be there. And I've said that. I think this group is only going to get better. And I think that's why I resided with an A-, because I think there is still room for them to get better. So I didn't want to quite put them at an A+ yet.
When I was in 3rd grade, I had a big math test coming up one day.
Where is this going?
Just let me go through it. I had a big math test coming up, and I didn't feel good that morning. Said, Mom, I'm not feeling great. Don't think I can go to this test. Mom made me go anyways. Math test comes. I start taking it. I'm about halfway through, and I'm doing a great job. I know I'm getting all the multiplication answers right. And I exorcist vomit all over the math test. Teacher sends me home, says, you know what? Just, you're sick. You can do this at a different time. You'll get a grade later. That's how I feel about this defensive line. They've been so hamstringed by injuries and players not playing and not being able to go full percent. I don't think it'd be fair to give them a grade. They're doing incredible for what they're doing right now, but I don't think we've seen the full potential of this unit.
So Jordan Hall being hurt is the equivalent of you throwing up on a math test because you can't handle pressure?
Handle pressure? No, I was legitimately sick. I had the flu. I was given a flu game, and I was doing damn good at it, and then blue chunks.
I have a test-taking story for you. I used to finish my test really, really quickly. I was one of those guys.
I was one
Slam
of those
the pen
too.
down.
Yeah.
Remember the CRCT?
Oh, yeah.
The standardized testing
Of course,
in the
dude.
state of Georgia? I would finish the CRCT sections, and they were like an hour and a half long. And so I'd finish them in like 30, 45 minutes, and I'd have a bunch of time to kill. And I remember being like 7, 8 years old, falling asleep on my desk and waking up to the entire class laughing. I'm like, why are they laughing? I was snoring my ass off at 7 years old in the middle of CRCT. I had sleep apnea at 7. Isn't that crazy?
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, feed your kids good food, people. Feed your kids good food. Where were we at?
Just, I think.
Oh, grades.
They're doing a
Defensive
great
line.
job,
You
but
picked on a test. There's no grades system right
they're
here.
doing a
for
great
D-line.
job, but I can't give them a grade right now.
Love that. A+ for them. Edge class or edge group. So this is all outside linebackers. We included defensive ends, by the way, on that interior defensive line discussion.
Yeah. I gave it an A.
Okay.
I gave it an A.
I gave it an A+. Jalen Walker's addition to this room has been obvious.
Yeah, Jalen
And they're
Walker's
so
shine.
deep. So deep.
And I think that and the reason why I didn't go A+ is because it has been Jalen Walker. Add me another name into this mix. Give me another guy that starts consistently flashing when he gets onto the football field.
Damon Wilson?
Yeah. Like, give me another Kentucky performance, Damon Wilson. I thought Damon Wilson played
Gabe
well.
Harris?
Yeah, some of those names. I think if one of those guys can step up, I would put this at an A+. Jalen Walker has been phenomenal. You couldn't ask him to play any better this season so far. Give me another name, I'll put at A+, because then it absolutely is a perfect unit.
They've gotten after the quarterback at a really, really high rate. Really, really high rate. All right, I went with an A+. Linebackers, what do we got? I went with an A-. I think there's been some, I don't know. I feel like I would have a hard time getting into a rhythm. You know, getting into a full lather as an inside linebacker, reading keys, feeling comfortable out there. I feel like I expected a little bit, and I know this is selfish, I feel like I expected a little bit more of a pop from CJ Allen.
I was going to say, yeah.
Like a little bit more. Like, you look like You look like that guy that we're not allowed to compare linebackers to during the spring game. That's what it looked like. It was everywhere, all sideline to sideline. Really, really impactful football player. He's flashed some. I expected a little bit more of like a holy hell, this is the best linebacker in the country. And again, that might be my fault. You know what I mean? That might be me putting too much expectations on that young man. Also, both this group and the next group we're going to talk about have received a ding for me in the scoring because of the tackling. The tackling last week was not immediate, get the guy to the ground. There was some yards after contact last week.
That's where my ding was. I gave them a B+ simply because they haven't flashed as much as we thought they would. They've looked good. They've looked like the elite linebackers that we know they are. But there hasn't been this solid evidence of, okay, if you meet CJ Allen, if you meet Smamon and one-on-one in the hole, you're not going anywhere. You're not falling forward for 3 yards for a first down. If yours a 3rd and 3, I'm highly confident that those guys can fill gaps and stop run plays from happening. You haven't exactly felt this way. They're not playing bad, but there's a little more you could get out of them, I think.
Yeah, I went with an A- because, I mean, obviously there's knocks to everything that you just mentioned, the lack of tackling and whatnot, but I also kept it at an A- because the additions of Raylan Wilson and how he has played this year, I think upticks this room. I've been really impressed with him here, an SEC Defensive Player of the Week after his Kentucky performance. The room is deep. They have a lot of good bodies in that room, so I kept it an A- because it has been good. And Georgia linebackers have always played well under Glenn Schumann and under Kirby Smart, so I've still been impressed with them. I didn't put it at an A or an A+ because I haven't seen those flashes from Georgia linebackers typically, where it feels like that the two guys on the football field almost just take over the entire football game.
Checks might be a little light next month. The homie needs a new chair here at the desk. A lower back.
Hey,
Dude, mine hurts too.
dude, one of the best decisions I ever made.
Really?
Best decisions I ever made was switching chairs with you.
Yeah.
I sit in that chair when I
So
come
your
in work in
check's
the
going to
morning.
be extra light. Put the chiropractor bill on yours.
Just take the chair back.
Psych, I don't believe in that witchcraft. What are you talking about?
Just take the chair back, man.
We could just stand like McAfee.
Nah, I'm good on that one.
I'd have to readjust all the cameras.
Defensive backs. What do we got?
I gave an A+.
Yeah?
I gave
You
an
like
A+.
it. You like it.
I love what I've seen from the defensive back room.
I want to say something because Jamie and I had this. I love that I have to say that on my own show. Like I'm not going to say it anyways.
Can I please?
I had this discussion with Unc privately, and I'm going to bring it to the channel today. Everyone thinks Malachi Starks, elite football player, right? Mm-hmm. Like really good. Mm-hmm. The best defensive back Georgia's got.
Mm-hmm. Currently, yes.
Y'all know he got beat 3 times on pass routes Saturday, right?
He did.
And I didn't see a single one of y'all dare to do it. Not a single one of y'all.
Nope.
Go to Twitter, talk about Malachi Starks. Oh, he's a liability. Yet when Dalen Everett's in cover 3 and he gives up a 5-yard hitch, dum-dums on Twitter will be like, oh my God, this guy sucks.
There he is again.
So I just want to get that out there. I'm giving them an A+ too. They've played really well.
Wait.
They've tackled extremely well.
Are you telling me a defensive back
Gave up a reception.
Isn't going to win 100% of the time?
100%. I'm telling you that right now. That's crazy.
You mean the guy that doesn't know the route that the receiver's running?
Yeah.
And sometimes can't see when or where the quarterback threw the ball to?
Or better yet, the guys that play defensive back are oftentimes conceding one area of the field. And that if the coordinator does his job and calls a route to that area of the field, that it's not the corner's fault. Yeah, that happens all the time in football. All the time in football.
This is incredible. I did not know this.
It's absolutely insane. So I just wanted to get that out there, not to point to Malachi, all right, but to point to you guys that sometimes guys get beat, and it doesn't mean you need to go to Twitter and talk about how trash they are.
That said, I gave this room an A. It's the one room where I wanted to give an A+, and I didn't do it yet just because there's always room for improvement.
I like that. Always room for improvement.
Like an A+ is like you've done everything right. There's nowhere I can say that something needs to change here. There's been a couple of missed assignments. There's been a couple of missed tackles in the secondary. A couple of times you got beat when you shouldn't have. But overall, probably the best unit on the Georgia football team right now.
I've just loved what they've done in the secondary. Like,
Julian's played so tough.
Julian has played
incredible.
well. I mean, moving Malachi to star, giving that look, putting KJ Bolden back there. Dan Jackson has continued to be a good football player for this defense. Dalen Everett, I think, has taken a step forward, despite what people want to say about him. I think he has looked better this year. I think he's shown that. About forced a turnover on Saturday that was crucial for that football game. I mean, what an incredible play that would have been too. His tackling has been phenomenal as well. I just have loved everything that they've done with this defensive back room.
For everywhere else where there's been a, hey, this guy might not be living up to the potential, this might be a miss here, or we kind of expected more at this point in the season, there has not been that in the defensive back room. There's either been, wow, he's what we thought he was, or it's, oh my gosh, he's playing out of his mind right now. So
Reggie Miller. Shout out to that name. Starks is more of a safety than a corner, though. All right, let's do it this way. All three of those reps Saturday, he got beat. What position was he playing? Anybody know?
he was in the nickel.
He was in the nickel. How many times did I see William Poole get shit on? How many times did I see Mark Webb get shit on? How many times do I see all this happen on social media over and over again for one play? Mark Webb got beat one snap against Mississippi State, and people were ready to fire that guy. He's an NFL football player. So there we go. Good on the grades. We good on the grades?
Good on the grades.
Favorite moment so far in the season? We're a quarter of the way through, boys. What do you got? I got 3 with an OLI.
Just say you got 4. It wasn't the top 3.
There's no
rankings here.
I got 3
There's no rankings.
with an OLI.
Just give us your 4.
OLI, being on Feinbaum twice now. That's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Put Mom's Basement on national television. And I don't know if you noticed this. Jonathan, you did, because I bragged about it to you today. They re-aired my segment on Paul Feinbaum today.
What?
Yep.
That's impressive.
Paul took a whole segment off to get Brooksy back on.
Nice.
Yep. It's set up in the corner. Previously aired. So nice. Played it twice. Right
That's
there in
awesome.
the top right corner. OLI making Feinbaum. Number 3, the start of the season. It was a great moment. Football's back. I love the start of the season. Number 2, I have a video of it, and it was in a montage that I put out about a game day views. But I love special moments when I'm like, it's real. I'm up close and in it. One of my favorite moments last year was watching, or 2 years ago maybe, was Nolan Smith give a big hug to those guys coming back as an athlete, right? As an alumnus. This year, my favorite moment was watching Jared Wilson and the offensive line assistant coach just stand right there and listen to his name be called in the stadium as a starter for the first time, and watching that moment for him of just like, how awesome is that?
Mama, I made it.
Mama, I did it. Mama, I'm here. I thought that was so awesome. Honestly, I got the goose. He's talking about it right now. Number 1, new camera lens. I love that thing. When that thing showed up, I went outside, took photos of the whole neighborhood. People thought I was a weirdo.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of the trip, huh? The new camera lens.
Now, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but takes great flicks.
It was fun.
Yep.
It was fun indeed.
What do you guys got?
I have the Nate Frazier Clemson game. That was really fun to watch.
That was fun to
his
watch.
debut, getting to see what he brought to this running back room, because you didn't get to see it in the spring game, and all you heard, and it's so fun to see these, like what you hear in the rumblings of the offseason actually translate to the football field, and everything was Nate Frazier's going to be so good. He brings a juice. He's going to be one of these bona fide guys. Like, we got one, and seeing that against a really good defense in Clemson, that was really fun to watch. Malachi Starks playing star against Clemson, that was fun to watch for me, because we kind of started floating this idea out throughout the offseason, like, maybe you could do it, but why would you just do it just so we can see it? And they actually did it, and I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. Anthony Evans returning punts. Yeah. Every single time he touches the ball, I get this feeling like he might just do it. He might take it to the house this time. That's fun to have that feeling every time you get you're getting the ball back. The team's having to punt the ball to you. You immediately are potentially getting a chunk play before your offense even goes out on the football field. And then my last one, the Jalen Walker Kentucky game. That was just phenomenal. 4 quarters of Jalen Walker absolutely dominant. He even said in the highlight reel, they couldn't stop me even if they wanted to.
Is that the most dominant statless performance ever?
Yeah. Gotta be. I mean, if
he was the best player in the football game,
excluding offensive line play.
Yeah. Didn't even record a tackle?
2 total tackles.
2 total tackles, 9 pressures.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible.
He was everywhere, and yet he was nowhere. Philosophical.
And you can tell that the SEC awards every week are phony, because they didn't give any mention to him.
Oh, you don't think they're box score scouting on that one?
They so are.
They don't give certified ball knowers votes on that.
No, they don't.
Shame. What's your favorite moment?
My favorite moments.
And do you only have one?
No, I've got.
And yours not including the road trip with yours truly. A little bit of.
You didn't put it on yours.
Yeah, because I don't like you that much.
Exactly.
There you go.
Mutual.
Very easy. Watching Kirby Smart chew ass during the Kentucky game was so much fun to watch because I thoroughly enjoy watching coach. There's something about watching a coach just get after his players, and when Kirby does it with the intensity and then immediately goes back to even keel coaching, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do here. It's so funny. Watching him flip that switch is very entertaining.
Slight bit of lunacy in that man.
Yeah, it's
Just a little bit.
It's almost
The right amount.
It's almost terrifying because, like, if someone screams at you and then they're mad at you and they still are mad, you're like, all right, I get it. But when they scream at you to the top of their lungs, like, oh shit, and then immediately like, all right, so listen, you look at him, you're like, wait a minute. So that's always fun to me.
I love how quickly his emotions shift when he does these things. And you pointed out when he was getting after Oscar after fumbling the football, and he's just tearing him up, absolutely lighting him up. And then he immediately kneels down. Hey, guys, we're all right. That's about as bad as we could possibly play.
Yeah.
Nice, calm, even-keeled. I just love watching the switch.
I watched American Psycho the other day. He got one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feed me a cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next on the list, finally getting to see more of Brett Thorson. I know that coincides with your offense isn't doing well if Brett Thorson's punting. I love watching Brett
God's
Thorson
leading into the special teams take if I've ever seen it.
You cannot tell me he's not the most entertaining player on that team.
I can certainly tell you he's not the most entertaining player on that team.
He
comes out, he kicks a ball in the air.
No, personality-wise.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's
but
what I
can
mean.
watch that on his podcast. I don't need that on the field.
That's fine. He's also a damn good punter, and I appreciate a good punt every now and then. I also had Nate Frazier's debut on here against Clemson. That was a lot of fun to watch. But the bigger moment was the Cash Jones stiff arm in that game. That was so much fun to watch. It's so much fun when a guy who's, not typically in the star role here, not typically someone who's high on the depth chart, comes in and absolutely just catches a body. Same with London Humphreys in this game. Watching those guys come in and make big plays is always a lot of fun. Probably the number one thing, though, I don't get to do this a lot anymore with the job we have. I got to actually watch the game in Sanford Stadium with my dad this year, so that was a lot of cool fun. Very cool moment.
I met Papa Kirby.
Yeah,
He's a good
dude.
fella.
Good dude.
He says you get all your weirdness from your mother.
He probably did say that.
Yeah. I mean, you were there. You heard him say it.
Well, I'm saying, well, I hope they're not watching that because you might just start a fight. You might just start a fight.
See, this is my fault because though my mother is upstairs right now and I'm indeed in her basement, my parents don't love me enough to watch the show. So you should be happy that they do that.
Yeah.
You know what my mom says when people ask her if she watches? A, he does it from my basement. I can hear him from upstairs. B, she says, I hear him talk enough. I don't need to hear it anymore.
Ooh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So congrats, guys. Y'all got, family that watches the show.
I got a lot of family that watches.
I did not mean to strike a chord there with that, but
No, it's all good.
that was probably one of my favorite moments of the season so far. Actually, being a fan. The old man next to you.
This goddamn Homer.
Not working.
I was wondering why article production that day was relatively low.
It was. I'm not going to lie to you.
Pulled an all-nighter. All right, things we know about this Georgia football team right now. What are they? I know right now Trevor Etienne was a home run. What an absolute just dinger, third row dinger off the transfer portal wire right there in the form of Trevor Etienne.
So I did this one kind of interestingly.
Do I need therapy? No, this is my therapy, Marion.
Oh, there you go. I did things we know and then followed up with things we don't. For example, I know Nate Frazier is going to be an elite running back. I don't know how much Rod Robb has improved from his freshman year. Obviously, there's no way to tell. He hasn't played a snap yet. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this segment.
They keep asking me who's guarding Ryan Williams. Whoever lines up over the top of him.
We know this defensive line is only going to get better. This is kind of a point now that we've really hammered home, especially this week. Knowing that it feels like some of these guys on the injury report are nearing a return, especially after the bye week. You get another week of rest, and then you have another full week leading into the Bama game to try and get those guys back. They played really well. You're only going to add more bodies, good bodies to that room as well. So I think they're only going to get better, and that's a good sign for this Georgia defense that has already played really dang good.
Now, I know this is things we know. This is things I'm feeling. I'm feeling Jalen Walker's going to be one and done. Like first year, gets the opportunity to be a real player in terms of snap count, and he's immediately going to go first round.
This is a sidetrack. Why is the sample size for defensive play almost anyone
Why
else?
doesn't it matter?
Yeah.
Tape's tape. at that position. If you can rush, I don't need to see you do it for 27 games.
Okay.
And
You know what I mean? There's no, like, a quarterback might be able to get figured out. If you drafted Tyler Van Dyke off the first 7 starts, you're screwed right now. But the moment you saw teams start to figure him out, now he's not a draftable player, right? We have a sample size that has proven that. With edge rushers, buddy, you can get home, you can get home.
And they see you run really fast. Ooh, we like fast. We like big. So nice and simple there.
I know Nate Frazier was a hit.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Highest rated my guy in the history of my guys. Home run game 1.
It's looking
Just
good for
love
you.
to see it, man. You just love to see it.
I'll just go ahead and get this one out of the way. We know the running back room is solid, but I'll add on with this one. We know the secondary has all the answers because they can rotate in so many different guys. I think you figured out your defensive back room, your 2 cornerbacks. I think you figured out who those 2 guys are going to be. Jonah Aguero has looked good at star in 3 games, and that was kind of a question that turned into a non-talking point there at the end of the offseason, leading into the season. You can also plug in Starks there if you want. KJ Bolden is a certified ball player. You know that you can play him in the big moments, and he's up for it. And Dan Jackson, very much a good football player. You have no issues plugging him in back there. You don't have any concerns.
I mean, I was kind of joking, but I'm not about the Ryan Williams question. Georgia's never traveled. They've never followed anybody. So wherever he lines up, he'll get covered by who he's covered by. The job is on DeBoer to find the matchup that he wants in that situation, not the other way around. It's not how Georgia plays defense.
The closest they've done it is with Kamari last year with Luther.
Correct.
That's the
and that was just
closest
bumping him in
thing.
the slot. It's
Yeah.
the closest thing. And the other one was flipping boundary and field corners against Oregon in 2022. Outside of that, they've never done it. And Williams plays a multitude of positions. He plays in the slot. He plays outside. He plays all over the field. They do a lot of things with him. So he's not going to get guarded by one guy.
I know that Carson Beck is a quarterback who is going to look to make the best decision with the most completable ball and will process the defense to the best of his abilities. I still want to know if he is able to complete his deep balls. I'm not ready to give up on him from a standpoint of he just can't do it. But we're, 16 games in now, and it's kind of like, all right, if you're going to show you can do it, it's time to start consistently doing it now, especially with this stretch of games coming up.
We found out pretty quickly how good KJ Bolden's going to be. I think we know that. There's no questions about whether or not he's going to be a great one, it feels like.
Yeah, he was one of those football players. As soon as he stepped on the football field, he made an impact, and you could tell. And at that point on, it was like, yep, that's another one that Georgia hit on.
I want to see him make a pick, though.
Yeah.
I want to see one of those. We saw that from Malachi, but we've seen the ability to come down and show you helmet and pop your pads a little bit from KJ. Now, he's missed some tackles because, like we talked about last night, he's throwing his body at everything possible to get guys down. He's 185 pounds. But there wasn't a lack of willingness to strike with Malachi, but it wasn't with the screws for Malachi when he was a true freshman. All right, when he was a true freshman, a lot of arm tackling going on for Malachi. This dude hunts. Does KJ Bolden, but he doesn't have that. He hasn't made that play on the ball just yet. I'm waiting for that to happen.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he hasn't really been tested vertically yet, has he? Okay.
Now, some of that may be because when he's playing at safety, now I could be wrong on this. I haven't studied every single rep that Malachi's playing at the star. But when Malachi's at the star, you would imagine they're not going to, KJ's over him. The way that they line up, right?
It's almost like a pseudo bracket.
Yeah, and you're going to avoid that matchup. And even when you throw at it, you're going to throw away from it, right? The one of the receptions Malachi gave up on Saturday was a deep out against the leverage that he was playing. So could see some stuff like that moving forward. What else do you know?
I know Anthony Edwards is an elite punt return man.
Yep.
And I said Anthony Edwards, I meant Anthony Evans.
Anthony Evans. It's all
Still
good.
a Georgia
We
player.
had you.
Shout
Also,
out.
elite drip on that guy.
Yeah.
Elite drip on that guy.
What I don't know is, and I want to know, is he going to return a kickoff for a touchdown this year? It hasn't happened in a minute at Georgia.
I mean, good Lord, the moment he tried to make a play on special teams Saturday, he got called back for a hold.
Was Makai's a kick return?
Makai's was a punt against Boston.
It's so hard to return kicks nowadays because people kick them out of the back of the end zone. And I don't remember because I didn't see the TV copy. I was watching it from the end zone, and I don't watch special teams on TV copies unless big plays happen when I break them down, right? Because special teams don't matter. But that ball he returned Saturday, that was a good return off kickoff. How deep into the end zone was that?
About 2 yards.
So it was a fringe play. It wasn't like he took it mid end zone and was like, I'm going to go make a play.
I don't think you're ever going to see someone
not allowed.
Yeah.
You get yanked.
You get your ass
you
chewed.
probably would.
I mean, if you're going to do that, you better score a damn touchdown.
I see a lot of people ask this, so I'll ask you this. Why hasn't he been involved in the offense?
Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to play him over Dom right now? How about this one?
I mean, I know the answer.
How about this one? You're going to play him over London Humphreys right now?
Didn't seem like it.
They're not.
Didn't seem like they were going to.
They're not. So, and I actually had this discussion with someone on the field before the Kentucky game. It's like, y'all have a lot of wide receivers, really good ones. And when I started covering this team, it was like, hey, Georgia's really good. We like this Dominic Blaylock kid really early. Outside of that, they've never had like consistent dudes 6, 7 deep. It feels like they have those type of weaponry now. But with a guy like Anthony, it's like, hey, do we play him over Dom? Probably not. And right now, it seems like they're playing London over him a bit as well.
I'll go ahead and follow this up because it's going to be asked in the chat. Does what you're doing where you have him as kind of your designated punt return, kick returner, and you know, offense is kind of a backup for you, does that put him at risk for entering the portal? Because that's kind of what you saw happen with the guy who was returning punts last year.
Well, Muse was like, we're never going to be able to play you at receiver. Anthony's got future written on him at that spot.
Okay.
Right? I think eventually London stays out of the slot and moves to one of those X or Z spots. But right now, the X and Z spot's loaded down with Dylan, Colby, Arian. Like, they're playing a bunch of guys over there. So I think there's a lot of snaps to be absorbed right now, and Anthony's kind of getting overlooked. That thing might change, though.
Too many mouths to feed is what you're saying.
Yeah, but you got to successfully feed them.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like the wide receiver spot is it's a position where you have to be careful about just rotating in a bunch of guys throughout a football game, because those are the players where you want them building and building and building throughout the football game, and especially if they're playing well. Like, Dominic Lovett is always going to be a focal point in this offense, as he should be. Dylan Bell, you never know when that big moment's going to come from him, and neither do you. And Arian Smith continues to be both impactful in any time he's on the football field, whether the ball's in his hands or not.
Analysis question for Brooks. What's wrong with Carson's deep ball, throw too hard, timing? I feel like such room for error when we're throwing the ball 40 yards downfield.
Correct.
50 yards downfield. I'll tell you one thing, it's not mechanical. This dude's as clean mechanically as it can be. But the difference between overthrowing a ball or underthrowing a ball, in my opinion, having been a professional thrower of the football in my long, illustrious NFL career, it comes from that last like 5%, where that touch comes from as we release the football, whether we put too much arc on it, whether we don't put enough on it, whether we put too much zip on it. It's that last 5 or 10%. And a lot of that, in my opinion, can come from confidence when you let that thing go. Do I throw this with 100% confidence, or do I let up on this ball, or do I, maybe throw it too hard because I let up on the last one? All of that stuff plays a major role in that kind of deal. It's not, I'll tell you what though, it's not mechanically. I always felt like JT was mechanically. If he missed there, it's because he popped too early. He had a very, very interesting way of throwing those balls, to say the least.
Yeah,
trying to be rotational but locking out his front leg all the time.
Interesting is a good way to describe him as a football player.
Him as a human.
Yeah.
Him as a human. Interesting.
That's right.
What don't you know?
I still have one more. You're deep as ever. I know that. You are deep as ever. Do you have the top end talent that you have had in years past? I don't know that, but I do know that you're as deep as ever. What I don't know, who's the new number one in this offense? I don't know that. I still don't know that. 3 games in, is it Arian? Is it Trevor? Can it be Trevor? Can it be the running back nowadays in college football? Can that guy be the whole surrounding game plan? Can we game plan to win and be explosive with just our back being our best player? Do we have a number one elsewhere? That would be my thing I don't know right now.
That's interesting because, coming into the season, I think we all kind of was like, Dylan Bell is tailor-made to be this guy. He's kind of got that do-it-all ability. He hasn't done that yet.
I'm unleashing this week. If it were me against Alabama, I'm unleashing Colby Young at X, Arian Smith at Z, We're going to put Dylan Bell as often as we can in the slot. And we're going to design a lot of those yards after catch opportunities that we used to for Brock. Small screens, tunnels, things where, hey, really, really violent dude with the ball in his hands has the ball right now. Try to tackle him. I'm doing that for Dylan against Bama. I'm unleashing this. Colby's my new ex. Let's see what we can do with Dylan in his natural position, which everyone compares him to Debo. That's what he is. Guess what Debo doesn't do and never has? Lined up outside, an X receiver. That's what Dylan's having to do right now on a lot of these snaps, and it's not his natural position.
So if you're doing that, where does Dom fit into?
It's a great question. We got to rotate. That's where the rotation comes from, in my opinion. If someone's going to get locked up in man coverage, I want it being Colby Young, because even if he's got somebody on his body, Carson's good enough to throw that ball somewhere where only Colby can catch it. So I think that's where you got to ultimately move offensively to get guys back into their natural position. I'm not saying Dylan can't do these things, right? But it's even something his own offensive coordinator alluded to at the beginning of the preseason when the only time we got to talk to him. He said Dylan's got to improve in his man coverage abilities.
Absolutely. I don't know what the tight end room ceiling is yet. I'm not capping them where they are now at all, because I keep going back to what Delp was last year, and I think that I feel like that you can still get there as an offense, and I think that you keep bringing up the good point of they have middle of the field closed, so that's really going to inhibit what you can do with your tight ends. And I feel like once they kind of just get this solid foundation built on them, they finally can get some consistency built around them, I think that this room is going to kind of take off a little bit, and you're going to see some more flashes from this tight end room. I just don't know what that looks like. I don't know what maxed out Oscar Delp looks like. I don't know what maxed out Lawson Lucky looks like. I don't know what those two look like together maxed out.
I think we've got a pretty clear-cut answer of who they think their best weapon with the ball in his hand at that position is, and it's Lawson. They've designed almost every run after the catch opportunity for him at that position right now. So there's that. What do you got?
That's all I got.
All right. Let's move on to what I do know about this idea that you're the deepest, deep as ever, right? And I got to think about this today. I don't often break out the pen and like really, really write anymore. I should get better at it. I do all my creative thoughts in here, to be honest with you. Most of the analysis we got coming out from me on Dogs Daily nowadays is just news items. But I felt compelled to write one today because I'm watching Georgia, and I'm watching them over and over and over and over again. And I see them the last 3 football games survive and advance and almost thrive at positions they continue to take injuries at, right? Their defensive line is decimated right now. You lose Jordan Hall preseason, you lose Xavier McLeod preseason, you lose Warren Brinson 17 snaps into the Clemson game, you lose Michael Williams 3/4 into the Clemson game, and guess what? You still ain't gave up a touchdown. You still look like the best defense in the country. You are still violent. You are still really aggressive. I hear offensive coordinators say, 13's out of the game. I ain't seen no drop-off with 93. All right? Tate Ratledge has tightrope surgery, goes out with a knee sprain. Guess what you do? You plug another NFL-ready offensive guard in there, Micah Morris. And if he goes down, guess what? Xavier Truss will kick in. We'll move Monroe Freeland out to right tackle. You got 8 or 9 guys on the offensive line that are playable and winnable in the SEC right now when most teams are struggling to find 5. All right. And I got to thinking about this, guys. And we live in a world of college football now where this is roster and salary acquisition and allocation. That's what we are in. We're in a world of college football now where you have a salary cap in most of these programs, and how you choose to use that salary cap will ultimately depict how you succeed in that coming season. So right now, Georgia is decimated on the lines of scrimmage with injuries, yet they are still playing at a high rate. So how is that possible? Well, this head coach has made no bones about it. With regards to NIL, with regards to roster acquisition, with regards to recruiting, he is going to prioritize the lines of scrimmage. He's going to get bodies after bodies after bodies. So no, Georgia hasn't landed a 5-star wide receiver since 2019. They haven't landed a 5-star running back since 2019. They don't need to. They don't seem to need to, because this is a conference that is won on the lines of scrimmage. How you play closest to the football will ultimately depict how many games you win. 9 times out of 10 in this conference, every coach will tell you that. It is one at the line of scrimmage. So yes, they spend way too much money in terms of how everyone else does it on the line of scrimmage. But when everyone else takes injuries like this, they're decimated. They have no answer. Their season's shot, and you don't. So the next time you don't sign Jeremiah Smith, just remember that you signed 6 offensive linemen that average 6'7", 350 pounds. And you're going to be okay.
That is a fantastic take. I think it's something that always gets overlooked because the 5-star wide receivers and these playmakers on the outside, that's what's flashy. That's what gets you views on Twitter. That's what goes viral. Those are all the things that everybody wants because everybody wants the Jeremiah Smith and everybody wants what Alabama had in 2020 because they feel like that's what impacts the football game the most. And it does. I mean, having a dominant wide receiver completely changes everything. But what also completely changes everything is if you don't have an offensive line that can block at all. At that point, your offense is completely shut down. What you are able to do is very limited. No matter how great your wideouts are, no matter how great your quarterback is, no matter how great your weapons are, if you can't block, if you can't protect your quarterback, you're doomed. You're doomed for an injury at the quarterback position, and you're doomed from being very limited as an offense.
And it goes back to the idea of, what if we did bring out the Brinks truck to get our 5-star wide receiver? What if we did that for our running back? Name a season the last 5 years for Georgia where a starting running back hasn't missed at least one game or a starting wide receiver. There are so many players and times where Georgia's like, hey, this guy's kind of got an injury. He's going to sit down for a week. Guess what? We still have 2 or 3 really solid backs. Now, sometimes it's like, hey, we're really banged up here. We're in trouble. But there's almost never a time where it's like, well, if he goes down, we are just SOL at this position. And I think that's what Georgia has built their program around. No, you're not going to have the star players. You're probably not going to see the DeAndre Swifts and the Nick Chubbs. You're definitely not going to have a Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel type combo in your running back room or a star, a absolute star at wide receiver. You don't need them because you beat the shit out of teams by the depth that you have.
Chat's bringing up a quote. Side note here. I didn't realize Milrose said this. Did he really say this?
Say what?
Quote, I could tell in their eyes that they gave up.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah,
he said that?
Yeah, remember we talked about that? Talked about the SEC championship game?
Man, that's not going to sit well with that defense. I mean, you got to get up for this football game no matter what, but a little bit of extra juice there.
I think I know. I can hear Kirby Smart's pregame locker room speech getting released now, and it's going to involve something about that.
Nah, this one's locked in the chamber forever. Death trap. You let this pregame speech leak, you're fired.
You think so?
Oh, you're fired before you hit the end record on voice memos. Yeah, you're cooked. I guarantee that Gabe speech that leaked was them against like Ball State. just out here leaking it. It wasn't the national championship. That was a lie. It wasn't the 65-3 game.
It was it was the 2022 SEC championship.
Huh. I know the Florida one got leaked because Jamari don't say shit to their undisciplined asses.
The only thing that was an indicator of that, the one you're referencing, is don't forget about what they did to you 2 years ago or something like that.
2 years ago, they lost to
players you're most excited to see get healthy.
I would love to see Rob. I think that's one just to see. I just want to see it again. Be reminded of what he looked like in that running back room. And I mean, getting him a role at this point seems like it'd almost be impossible just because of how great you have been so far. But I want to see him get healthy, see him get some touches, see what year 2 looks like. I know coming off of an injury, that's not the best gauge, but I'd like to see him get healthy, get some touches.
Yeah, Rob's definitely, I think, going to be kind of on everyone's list just because there was so much buzz around him coming into the season. It really stinks that he's kind of taking a back seat to just by injury. This one's kind of interesting, I think.
Don't you do it.
Do you want to go first then?
Is it Jordan Hall?
No.
Okay, then go ahead.
Okay. This player is fully healthy. He's back, but I don't think he is 1,000% himself. I want to see a fully healthy, fully ready to go Branson Robinson.
Yeah.
Because and that's not to discredit what he's done this far in the season. I mean, hell, he scored the only touchdown in last week's game. I don't think Branson Robinson feels like he did that freshman year. That's not a slight to him. I think that's just you have to get back in the game. You have to get your footing down. When you suffer a knee injury that catastrophic, you have to
Kirby always talks about it being the second year. The second year, that guy normally returns to himself in terms of the full version of what he was.
Right.
I put Jordan Hall on this list for me because I think on that interior defensive line right now, you got a lot of big and physical. Okay, you got a lot of it, right? Nas Stackhouse classifies as big and physical. Kristen Miller, Xavier McLeod, all these guys that are playing on the defensive tackle position are very big and physical. There's not one that just pops off the screen with twitch and athleticism and wow, he got home really, really quickly. Warren Brinson provides a little bit of this. Jordan Hall was brought into this room to do this. He is supposed to be a disruptor. We've never really seen him unleashed and fully healthy. Last year, obviously, as a true freshman. This year, as a redshirt freshman, I'm really excited to watch this football player really overwhelm offensive guards with his athleticism, speed, and twitch. This is a very rare skill set that this room is lacking right now, in my opinion.
I like that one.
I mean, all those guys are 6'4", 305. They're all just big, physical. Xavier McLeod, just reclones. That's what they all look like, except for Jordan Hall. Jordan Hall looks far more like Devontae Wyatt than he does like Xavier McLeod in terms of physical makeup and skill set. Super excited to see him.
Amen.
Are we done?
I believe we are.
It's been a good week.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a really,
we ain't even done
good
yet.
week. Let's check a follower count or subscriber count right now, boys. Any projections? What do y'all got us at?
27.3.
27.4.
27,299 subscribers. That's not bad on your part,
Pretty
buddy.
good.
That's not bad at all. Hey, appreciate you guys for being here. If you're not subscribed already, hit that 23 or 27.3 right now. Do it for us right now. Right meow. Appreciate you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.